Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Ashley Vaquero with the Office of Charter Schools. I am going to take attendance very quickly before we get started. Eric Sanchez, Bruce Friend,
Here.
Rita Hare, Stephen Gay,
Here.
Hilda Parlay,
Present.
Alex Quigley,
Present.
Todd Godby,
Here.
Alex Granados,
Here.
Dave Machado, Shelley Schote,
Here.
Bart Danielson, John Eldridge.
Here.
All right. We are going to begin with a swearing in ceremony, and we are very lucky to have Representative Harry here with us today to help do that. So we will, she's going to lead this swearing in, and what you'll be stating is up on the screen as well. And we'll do, it's voting members only, no advisors need to do this. And you'll state your name one at a time as she gets started with the ceremony. All right, so let's go ahead and start with Alex, I guess. So, well, do you want to kind of start with I think if we do like the first section and they can go like I, Alex Quigley, and then start the swear, like the actual statement.
Those, okay.
So I have to read the whole thing myself.
No. But I mean, like go like around the table so we don't have to do the entire
Can I
thing.
get a Bible?
I don't think you need a Bible. Do they?
No.
I'll use
you
my
don't need-
phone.
Just trying to up the ante.
Yeah.
You pull the Bible up on your phone. Yeah, I got the Bible app on my phone, so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Official.
Thank you very much for having me this morning. It is a joy and a privilege and an honor to be here this morning to administer the oath to our new board members. Combined 300 years of experience in charter schools and the charter school world, which is very impressive. I know that all of you are going to do an excellent job on this board elevating charter schools and making sure that we increase those standards and we improve charter schooling here in North Carolina. I do want to do a shout out to our board chairman, Bruce Friend, who's my personal friend with a very successful school in my district, Pine Springs. So it's an extra joy for me to be here today with Bruce. So before I administer the oath, just to kind of explain this again, I'm going to recite the oath to you in pieces that you will recite back to me as a group, with the exception of the very beginning. So I will say, I, and then state your name, and then we're going to go around to each person where you do state your individual name, and then the rest of the oath will be administered in pieces that you will all recite back to me together. Does that make sense? Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, if you will please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and then state your name, please.
I, Alex Quigley.
I, Todd Godby.
I, Stephen Gay.
I, John Eldridge.
I, Bruce Friend.
I, Shelley Schote.
I, Hilda Alston Parlay.
I, Bart Danielson.
And repeat after me. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States.
Affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States.
And the Constitution and laws of North Carolina.
And the Constitution and laws of North Carolina.
Not inconsistent therewith.
Not inconsistent therewith.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
To the state of North Carolina.
To the state of North Carolina.
And to the constitutional powers and authorities.
And to the constitutional powers and authorities.
Which are or may be established for the government thereof.
Which are or may be established for the government thereof.
And that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend.
That I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state.
the Constitution of said state.
Not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, we're ready to begin. And again, thank you, Representative Perret, for swearing us in today and for her unwavering support in the legislature for school choice and supporting parents around our state. That was a great honor. Mr. Eldred, would you be so kind to lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance?
We have to.
As a reminder, as the mission of the Charter School Review Board, we work to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the Review Board. Does any member of the Review Board know of any conflicts of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record, and if during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring that matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and voting on the matter.
Mr. Chair, I must recuse from American Leadership Academy, Monroe.
Thank you. Hearing none other, we have 2 full days in front of us over the next couple of days. Several new applicants, a couple of reconsiderations, as well as several updates from the Office of Charter Schools. The agenda was provided to us in front of us this morning, as well as provided to us last week. Can I get a motion to approve the October agenda?
I make a motion to approve.
Need a second?
Gilda Crowley, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving today's and tomorrow's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. We also had our meeting minutes from our September meeting. Those minutes were provided to us in advance of today's meeting as well. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those minutes from September. Can I get a motion to approve September 2023's meeting agenda minutes?
Mr. Chair, Gilda Crowley approves the September meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes unanimously. We'd like to welcome a new member of our Charter School Review Board from the Superintendent's Office, Mr. Alex Granados. Alex, welcome. The part of our, I guess, an ex officio or non-voting member, but thank you for your time to be with us and commitment, and please don't be shy about weighing in thoughts and opinions as we review applications and do other business. Any comments you want to make, Alex?
Just thank you for having me. This is real surreal for me. I've spent probably 9 years in the audience watching the former review board, and never thought I'd be on this side of the divide. So I'm excited to be here and excited to see what we have in store.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. I think there's several of us who can say that we sat there one time and never thought we'd be on this side of the podium. Yeah, you're welcome. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Melanie Rackney to introduce the applicants for today.
And just a reminder to everyone, when you are speaking, if you can try to make sure to have your mic directed at you a bit, it makes it much easier for those listening on live stream, and also for our applicants when you come up, just make sure that you're always speaking in the mic.
All right. Good morning, Review Board. Melanie Rackley with the Office of Charter Schools. So we will hear from 4 first-round applicants and 2 reconsider applications from the 2022 cycle over the course of today and tomorrow. Since our September meeting, 2 applicants have withdrawn, and one of those were slated to appear today. And so then we will hear from our final 4 from our first round next month, November. And then keep in mind that our second round applicants will appear in December, and we currently have 3 of those applications slated for December. And so the next few slides are the updated legislative references. They're all hyperlinked and available on eBoard. On slide 10, just a reminder of the 3 options today for those board members that were not here last month. So review board, you will either do an approval, denial, or hold over for round 2 in December. And then just an overview on slide 13 of what that hour looks like, just the hour in a glance. So the Office of Charter Schools will make that introduction for each one of the boards that we hear from, and then that board will have an opportunity to provide a 10-minute opening statement. You all will then do a Q&A, followed by closing statement for the applicant, and then the review board, you all will deliberate for the final 10 minutes of the hour. And then just on slide 15, just a review of the committee assignments, so that if we do advance any of the applicants to the second round, you're aware of your committee assignment. And we can move forward, advance a few slides. I'll take any questions that we have. I will just say that on slide 18, our county distribution, we have scratched the Duplin County application, and then one of the applications from Mecklenburg County. So I think that puts us at 13 total applicants now. And so I believe that we have our first applicant slated for 9:45.
I believe they're here, actually.
Do we want to get
So
started?
let's see, are we waiting a little bit? Okay.
Yep.
That's okay.
So I think we have the crossover board, all of their board members will be in person today. And so we'll give them,
Yeah, do we want to take maybe a quick break?
Coffee break.
Coffee break?
Sounds
Yeah, and
good.
so they can get here, and then we can start?
That'd be fine.
Fine?
That'd be
Okay.
fine. Thank you. All right, we'll come back in about 5 minutes, or until the
All right. So our first applicant today is Crossnor Community Charter, slated for open in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. The mission is to offer stable, emotionally supportive educational environment for children, the goal of empowering each child to achieve his or her real academic and social potential. Year one, Crossnor will open with grades 1 through 4, rounding out in grades K-8 with 180 students by year 5. Their projections are pulling students from Forsyth and Guilford County based on their budget submission. Crossnor will participate in the National School Lunch Program. They will pursue the community eligibility provision. They will not provide transportation to their students, partially due to the actual targeted student demographic there being foster placement children, and so they'll discuss their transportation plan. They will utilize a weighted lottery to serve students from the community as well. They do have a slated facility on the Crossnor campus already. This application is a replication of the Marjorie Williams Academy in Avery County. And so Crossnor, as the parent company, does have a campus in Winston-Salem, so that's the address there. They are not a repeat applicant, nor will they use the assistance of an EMO organization. The application was deemed complete by the Office of Charter Schools. And on the next slide here, we kind of just see the scatter map there. There are 82 traditional schools across Winston-Salem, Forsyth, 1 lab school, and then 5 charter schools in Forsyth County. And so my primary point of contact for this application has been Ms. Heilbron. And so all 6 members, Ms. Catherine Northington is the board chair. All 6 members are in person here, so I will turn the floor over to Crossnor Community for their 10-minute introduction.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
You heard our mission statement. We want to offer a stable, emotionally supportive educational environment for children that empowers every child to achieve his or her real potential. In short, we want a child where every school succeeds, regardless of their circumstances. We know from the CDC that at least 1 in 7 children have experienced abuse or neglect in the past year. We also know from SAMHSA that estimates 2/3 of our 16-year-olds have experienced a traumatic event. That trauma might be abuse or neglect, chronic hunger. It could be just a repeated unmanaged bully in school, or a bright child's ongoing frustration with an undiagnosed learning disability. It's the same cortisol pumping through the veins regardless. And in short, we want a school that is prepared to support every child in those circumstances. Let me briefly introduce our board, and then Brett will continue with a little bit more of an introduction about the school. My first career was a high school math teacher here in Raleigh, actually. Spent several years in the investment industry and currently serve nonprofits as a strategic planning facilitator. Brett has been, our CEO, Brett Loftus, has been a human rights attorney, child advocate, national expert on trauma and resilience, 2 decades leading nonprofits that serve children. Jeremy Burnett, one of our board members, is a former educator also, current board member at Marjorie Williams Academy, the school that we are requesting to replicate. She also has board experience for a private school and has spent time in performance evaluation for both school leaders and schools. Asheron Monroe Johnson in Winston-Salem is the executive director of Read Write Spell, which is our local literacy nonprofit. Regularly, she spends her time reaching, teaching, and advocating for struggling readers, training tutors, educators, and parents to use research-based practices and a multi-sensory structured literacy approach. Regina Hall, executive director of Boston Thurmond United, which is in Forsyth County, a purpose-built community. She strives to create a vibrant Boston Thurmond neighborhood, honoring its rich history and expanding opportunities for safe and healthy lifestyles, affordable housing, and schools that provide the highest educational outcomes access to jobs, and economic well-being. And then Chris Gentry, Director of the Family Support Network at the Centers for Exceptional Children. She is an outstanding advocate for children with disabilities, has 35 years of experience serving families that have exceptional children with a focus on quality early childhood experiences and environments as well. Brett?
Thank you, Catherine. As Catherine mentioned, I'm Brett Loftus. My day job is I'm the CEO of Cross North Communities for Children, and on the board here for the replication of the Marjorie Williams Academy in Forsyth County. So Marjorie Williams Academy, just as a quick recap, is in Avery County. It was one of the original charter schools, started back in 1999, with a primary focus of serving kids who are not being their needs not being well met in the current traditional system. If you know anything about Cross North history, we're a 115-year-old organization serving children in the child welfare system. So we have two campuses. So in Avery County, a campus where children come live on the campus who are in foster care, primarily living with their sibling groups in cottages. And so we have about 75 kids who live on that campus. And the charter school serves all those kids K through 12, but also serves about 50% of its population from community students. Avery County is very small, very few educational choices, one high school, two middle schools. And so we have been seeing really wonderful results from a population that is not well served nationally. So if you know anything about kids in foster care, I'm assuming you've all served some over the years, about 50% of them graduate high school nationally. So when you're trying to break an intergenerational cycle of poverty, abuse, addiction, other issues, not having a high school diploma is one of the big barriers. Also, less than 3% of kids in foster care go on to college. So our job is to really change those statistics, and we have been changing those statistics for about 25 years, making sure kids graduate high school, go on to college, and we spend a lot of time and effort to make sure they have up-to-date facilities. And Cross North as an organization really supports the capital pieces of the charter school. We have the same intention in Winston-Salem, is to use two really incredible buildings that are already been slated for a school. They had a Winston-Salem public school in the buildings up until we decided to go pursue this charter. So they are operational now, but we're going through an extensive renovation process, hopefully starting in February, to get those schools ready for a full K-8 school to serve children who live on the campus there in Winston-Salem. Those kids can come from any of the 100 counties in North Carolina, but the majority of them come from Forsyth and Guilford counties. So when you heard those two counties mentioned, those are just the largest number of kids that live there. Currently, the kids that live on that campus go to the community schools. The community schools in our area are struggling. The elementary and middle schools are F and D rated schools, and also our middle schools not met growth. And so while we are not in competition in any way with the public school district, including the fact that we're partnering with them on a daily basis. So one of our letters of recommendation comes from the superintendent of schools in Forsyth County, who's a big proponent of what we're trying to do around trauma-informed education. We were doing some of that work before trauma-informed was really something that was talked about a lot. And now we have a national training center where we travel around the country and work with other school districts and other child-serving organizations about how to build trauma-informed school environments and organizational culture. And so we're actually continuing that work in Winston-Salem in partnership with their school district, but it's a long haul. Changing that culture takes time. And so we're ready to open in August of 2025, serving kids first and foremost in those younger grades and then growing up to the 8th grade. We're really excited about what's happening so far. This capital effort is part of a $41 million campaign. We are 85% to that goal already, and we are ready to break ground as soon as you guys are ready. And we're so thankful for the opportunity to be here and to continue to serve kids in ways that really helps them have their needs met, because we know a lot of them are experiencing trauma-related behaviors and other things within the district that make it difficult for them now. And something that we say that I'll leave you with today is that if we can build a school for the most vulnerable child that walks in the door, it will work for that child, and it will magically work for every other kid that walks in the door. I hope to be able to share some more of my personal experiences with you later, but I'm also a parent of two children served by the Marjorie Williams Academy. And I can talk to you about the difference in those two kids and the difference Marjorie Williams Academy has made in their lives and countless other kids. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Now, we have about 20 minutes where our board is going to have some questions for you. I would just jot them down. We're going to kind of just throw them out. And when we find an appropriate time, we'll have someone step up to the mic to answer them, okay? Questions, comments from the board?
Enrollment, clinical approach, I'm just gonna name these.
Yeah.
Emotional support, how would that be handled? Trauma-informed school, how are the administrators and teachers, are they prepared? Are there any who are licensed? I just want to know more details about the preparation for the school being trauma-informed.
I didn't see a, school counselor or school nurse on the budget. Nor, I know that they talked about being part of the free and reduced lunch program, no, food servicing staff. So how, just logistically, is that gonna happen without those positions? And it may be because they're, looking at, foster children, that they're partnering with someone else, but it's not listed anywhere that I can see on the budget. So questions about that.
Is that Bruce?
Yeah, I had a few questions. One about, I'd like to hear about the rationale for starting 8th grade in year 3. What percentage of students who may not come from families that have experienced trauma, or the students have experienced trauma, what percentage of the population would they anticipate? Is there any member on the board who has school finance experience or expertise? I have several questions in the budget, specifically at line items I think that are pretty low in terms of what they've allocated for. I had the same question as Dr. Shope in terms of if you're dealing with a trauma-induced population, no nurse, no school counselor in the budget. So I'd like to hear some of that. How do they ensure, they talked about graduation of these students being low and they want to turn the needle on that. How do they do that once the students have actually left their school as an eighth grader? Just a clarifying thing on the board. The bylaws do accurately mention that you would meet at least 8 times a year, but in your application you say they'll meet quarterly, which would not be sufficient per state law. And then, yeah, that's a lot. So sorry.
So why don't we stop there, because I think several of the members of the board have some questions about budget. So why don't we address the budget questions and also issues with the board meeting?
The board meeting, I can tackle quickly. We will meet 8 times a year. We submitted that quarterly. That was mostly my mistake because our Cross North Communities Board meets quarterly, and so, but we will meet 8 times a year. That we've taken care of. And I believe we have submitted that as a part of.
It's in your bylaws, it just wasn't,
Yes.
it wasn't written
Okay.
that way in the
Got it.
application. Yeah.
In terms of the other questions, you want to tackle school counselors and nurse first?
So one of the things that makes this kind of partnership unique with the Cross North Communities for Children is that we have all kinds of supportive services co-located there right on the campus. So we have a full team of clinicians, trauma-based therapists that are literally 100 feet away from the entrance to the school, including bilingual therapists and therapists who are culturally responsive to all kinds of different populations. We actually run a clinic in downtown Winston-Salem that is primarily serves the Spanish-speaking population. So we have great resources right there. So all kids, whether they're in foster care or not, will have access to those on-campus therapists. We also have a full-time nurse on campus that will serve as a school nurse. She is already there serving kids and will be there available, including a medical director who is on campus that is a licensed child and adolescent clinician. Psychiatrist, I'm sorry. So she is there several days a week. So whether our campus students or any other community students needed that kind of medical support, those folks are already there embedded. And that's why they're really handled within the Cross North Communities for Children budget instead of the charter school budget.
So your school you don't have to pay for those services that are being provided at
Correct.
Broadus?
Yes, they're already there. And that's really the way it also happens now with Marjorie Williams Academy. I mean, that's where those kind of wraparound supports. We also have teams of folks there that do in-family support. So if there was a child that was struggling, that was a community student that needed some support in their home, we have prevention teams that go out and support kids in the community. So trying to wrap those kids as tightly as possible with all the supportive services they need to be successful is our number one goal. Same with food service. So we currently have a state-of-the-art cafeteria. It's brand new, it's newly renovated. We have a staff there that is already doing food service. And so we already qualify for all the USDA food services pieces there. So it will run just like it does at the Marjorie Williams Academy, like a school cafeteria, breakfast and lunch during the school day every day. When community students go home, they eat with their families. When campus students go back to their cottages, they eat family style within their cottages. So it's like everybody is having a real similar parallel experience.
Right.
We mentioned psychiatrists being part of your campus, but what about residential social workers, certified social workers? I know, coming from Sugar Creek Charter School, the population that I have at my school, but I think it is very important to have contact with a social worker and enough social workers that can tend to K through 8. That seems to be a lot.
Yeah. So once again, those are really embedded services already on the campus. So all of our kids who are in foster care have a case manager that's on campus that'll be part of that child's team. And also, in addition to the licensed clinicians that are there, the therapists that are there right next door, those buildings, I know I'm pointing as if you were there and could see it, but those buildings are part of the campus. They are part of where the school is, literally, you're talking 50 yards away across the parking lot where all those folks are. Parent engagement is a little different for us because some folks are in loco parentis. We have a lot of kids that their cottage parents or their community foster parents will be our primary support, although we work regularly with biological families if they retain educational rights in order to keep them engaged in that process and support their needs there. I didn't say before, there's a lot of educators in our group. I am not. I'm a child advocate attorney. What I used to do was sue school districts for violating kids' special education rights and disproportionate impact of suspension and exclusion. And so what I'll tell you is that this is a place that hopefully will benefit from all those learnings about what not to do. And I will say that there's a certain perception in a lot of communities about what children in foster care might be like. And when people come onto the Marjorie Williams Academy campus, they say these are the happiest, most well-adjusted kids we have ever seen, and that's because they're safe. If everything we're doing is about building safety so that kids' entire nervous system can calm down and regulate, and the adults in the building have that kind of trauma-informed instruction, to answer your question, this is an intensive part of the training for all school staff. It's why we like to be able to have a flexible schedule so we can bring teachers back 2 weeks early. We can have breaks during the year for professional development. We will rely on those teachers a lot about what they want to learn, but one non-negotiable will be, we have a full-time position that's covered under the Crossnor Community budget that is nothing but trauma-informed school support. So it'll be about how you build a culture that helps kids heal while they're being educated at the same time.
Thank you.
You all asked, you asked about high school, how we plan to continue supports for kids and make sure they're ready. Reynolds High School is right across the street from our campus. That is the public high school where our kids are districted. We have been engaged with Reynolds High School for 2 years now, providing the same trauma-informed training for their team that we will ask of our team, in hopes both of serving the kids that are at Reynolds already, whether or not they ever come to Crossnor's campus, but also in hopes of building that culture over time so that by the time our kids get there, there's some familiarity, there's similar language spoken, there's an understanding of their background, and it's not like a complete different shift of experience when they go to high school.
Could I follow up on that? This is Bart Danielson. And the answer to this question would not influence the way I would vote on this at all. I want to be better informed about this. Have you considered expanding to ninth and 12th grade? And if you've considered it and rejected it, Because it sounds like, given your mission, it might be reasonable that you would do that. If you've considered that and rejected that option, what were the factors that caused you to reject that option?
I'll tell you one, it was that we really have adequate buildings now ready to go for K through 8. It would require building a new building to go into high school. It's also a little more difficult around recruiting and retaining at those ages. We really hope that our partnership with Reynolds High School will continue to grow, and then that school will be a culture. I will tell you the wish of the superintendent of Forsyth County Schools is that our partnership will continue to deepen and that this campus charter school will be a learning lab for trauma-informed education. We already bring their teachers and administrators to campus and do things like team building and trauma-informed education there. We've trained over 250 people in Winston-Salem, professionals. There are 50 folks within the school district who've gone through our extensive train-the-trainer model. So they're on this same culture change path in Winston-Salem. They know they have a ways to go. It's a much bigger district. And obviously that's a bigger ship to turn. But if in fact our kids' needs are not getting met when they transition to high school, we will absolutely reconsider expanding those grades.
And you have a mechanism for monitoring that?
We do, absolutely.
And what is your rationale for starting kindergarten in your 4th year?
Yeah, we really, there are some private kindergartens in the area and access to other kindergarten. We really want to start kind of with those 1st through 4th grade and then add, you know, obviously with the smaller grades, sometimes there might be a need for a combined, 1, 2, or a K1 at some point, but really trying to grow thoughtfully. We don't have a huge amount of population room. 180 to 200 is really as big as we could get at this point. And so we really expect an overwhelming community response based on what we've seen so far. We are targeting not only the kids that live on campus, but the community right next to us is Boston Thurman neighborhood, which is a wonderful historic neighborhood that has been underinvested in over the years, and as such that some of the schools in that community are struggling. And we have a 92-acre farm that connects with that community and a walking trail between that community and our school. That you walk right past our barnyard animals and our farm, and we're in downtown Winston-Salem. So it's a really unique property, 212 acres in the middle of downtown, and having access to that neighborhood and ways for kids to walk and bike to school, we really believe will be a nice way to build that community in a stronger way.
Similarly, on that question, on the back end, it looks like you're in year 3 going full 6, 7, 8, which means your 8th graders are only with you for 10 months.
Yeah, and that's really because kids come to us at all grades. So, for instance, when my child came into foster care, he was in 7th grade. And we would want, if he was coming to campus, we'd want him to be able to go to the school on campus, even if he was in 7th or 8th grade. It doesn't mean that a lot of folks from the community will necessarily choose to put their child there for 1 year. It means that we'll have the ability for both kids who are matriculating up and kids who are coming to the campus and are already in 7th or 8th grade will have the ability to join us at that point. So it provides that flexibility.
Is there anyone on the board with a background in school finance?
Not school finance explicitly. I have an MBA in finance and have done a lot of work in nonprofit finance.
Okay. Now, I just was curious if, and as maybe as a replication, have you sort of replicated the budget of the other school in their first years? Because I am concerned when I look at, I'll give you specific examples. At the end of every year, you have basically zero money for a rainy day fund. Even after year 4, you've got like 21 cents or something like that as a rainy day fund. That's, stuff happens that you don't anticipate, so that's concerning. And then just sort of some of the line items, like office supplies, $1,000, computer software, $3,000, custodial supplies, $1,000, staff development, $3,000. These just, to me, in my experience, are very low numbers that I think you would find are not sufficient to support. I don't know how you clean a school for $1,000.
I agree.
Well, part of the benefit of being on campus with Cross North Communities for Children is that we lean into their resources for several of the things you've mentioned. And so we know some of those items are low on the front end, and there is some in-kind investment. There is some shared resources in terms of facilities, particularly coming from Cross North Communities for Children. I think once we're in for a year or two and we see exactly how some of, we've had a lot of conversations about teacher salaries, frankly, in the car on the way up. We know there's places in that budget where there's work to be done, and the luxury of having the fundraising arm of Cross North Communities for Children around us is part of where we lean into some resources that we know other organizations don't have.
And just, if I may, I'm just throwing out things that like we consider, like there's a finance officer to support the lead administrator, but there seems like there's no office staff. Like there's no admin assistant. And then, again, I go back on, I guess the one line item that jumps out to me is for a school with a very specific population of students who need a lot of support, $3,000 in teacher professional development, just that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where really we were trying to focus all our resources on the actual school and educational staff, where a lot of the other support will be provided. So just to give you an example, the Marjorie Williams Academy, who's been going on since 1999, is on budget, has reserves, regularly has kind of between 80 and 125 kids, and has been able to maintain at that and support in an ongoing way where they're not supplemented by the parent company. And the reason is because the buildings are maintained by Cross North Communities for Children, all the supportive services, so things like training. So we just secured a grant to be ready to do not only the work in the Winston-Salem School District, but work on our campus with the team of folks that are doing that trauma-informed education. None of that really is included in the budget. That's being handled separately. The total investment from Cross North Communities for Children over the first 5 years is estimated about $10 million. So, which has already been mostly raised. And so that is not only for the building and the capital, but also for any kind of losses for those first few years, which are inevitable. We know that capital needs are one of the big reasons that charter schools don't make it around the country, and trying to take that pressure off of the school administrator. So Dr. Cindy Austin, our principal at Marjorie Williams Academy, can tell you what that partnership looks like and how successful it's been when everybody in the building is really focused on educating kids, and the rest of the stuff is handled by folks who that's their expertise. We have about 55 buildings already on that campus. We have a large facilities team. We already have the school food staff there in place, so we want the school folks to really focus on teaching.
Is there some sort of MOU that you guys have with them?
We do, and a lease that's already been signed and implemented. Basically, the Cross North Community Charter will rent these facilities for $1 a year.
Any other questions?
What about those who are qualified to handle the trauma? What are their qualifications?
So it depends on what you're talking about. So if you're talking about teachers, a lot of those folks will come in with some experience, but will have to get extensive training once they're with us. We're recruiting teachers that are EC certified, so they have some of that background. But also, what we find is that we get kind of two real categories of teachers. Ones who've been in the traditional system and not been particularly happy with how they were able to educate kids. And others are young, really bright teachers coming out of school, and we want a mix of both. But the trauma-informed education training happens with us. We don't expect those folks to come in with those skills. What we want is to hire really good, enthusiastic teachers and then teach them how to be trauma-informed educators.
But what are the qualifications of the trainer?
Oh, there's a team of about 15 trainers. So everything from clinicians to folks who, like me, who come in more from the advocacy side. We have folks with lived experience on those teams who are training based on living in foster care as kids or having served children in foster care for many years. We have a PhD researcher who's part of the team, who's a community action researcher. So really, if you go to look at our website and you see the plethora of resources, these are resources that currently are being deployed mostly out of state to other districts and other communities. And we really want to deploy those at home where our kids live.
What kind of work have you done to be really confident that you would hit these enrollment numbers? that the interest is there and the need is there.
I want to talk about community partnerships, Regina.
Good morning. I'm Regina Hall, Executive Director of Boston Thurman United. And like Brett said, our neighborhood backs up to Cross North Communities. I have been fortunate to be able to be in conversation with Cross North over the past couple of years about their intentions on starting this charter school. The relationships that Brett talked about and Catherine about, the partnerships with the walking trail, and now a community garden that has started. Those are things that are building trust in community. Cross North has invited us to come and to sit in on community meetings where they have actually introduced this idea to community to see what the reception would be. Actually have received pretty broad support from community, I'll be honest. From a community that at one time about 4 years ago, if they heard the word charter school, would run. I'll be very transparent. So that has changed. The work that they've been able to do in community around sessions and building what we call trauma resilient communities has stuck. What our commitment is from Boston Thurman is to be able to help with recruitment and with families and spreading that word. We're already introducing them to Cross North communities, and we will have community sessions to make sure that folks feel comfortable and knowledgeable about the services that are being offered. And so we're standing ready to be able to help with recruitment in any way, but I'll tell you that Cross North is making it pretty easy in the outreach that they're already doing in community and getting broad support. Hey, Sharon.
Good morning. I'm Aishwan Monroe Johnson from Read Write Spell, but I'm also a person who went through the trauma-informed training with Cross North and a network of kind of community organizations that support Cross North in their efforts. And so I know there were surveys done, there were community conversations done, and the responses to those I think were overwhelmingly positive. Regina, thank you for your transparency, because that was one of the concerns, that people do have concerns when you say charter school. But I think that the results from those conversations and the surveys is that this is something that the community really wants. I think the support from the school district goes a long way in that, because people know, okay, this is not something that's in competition. This is something that will work alongside the schools to serve children that need it the most. So I think we're looking good in terms of community support.
Do you have a number? I know it's not, there's lots of time between now and when you would open, but do you have a number right now of families that are like, yeah, if this gets approved, we're coming? Or is it too early to?
I think that's our intention during our planning. I'm sorry. During the planning year is to continue to be, it was a little difficult this time last year to be talking about 2025, and people are like, well, I got to figure out what I'm doing this fall with my child. So this planning year will be big around saying we have an actual open date. This is come look at the buildings, come be part of, do tours, those kinds of things, which we currently do now at Marjorie Williams Academy.
And there's just, and I think I know the answer to this question, but so you can state it verbally. So 80 is the minimum threshold that you have to have for a charter school in the state of North Carolina. You're not anywhere in the application asking for a waiver to be less than 80.
No, we're not.
You're saying you're going to get 80, you at least get 80.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, the population of Avery County is 17,000 people. There are about 1,900 kids in the whole school district there. And so, we have 100, 120 kids of that. So I don't think we're going to have the same types of problems around numbers. We anticipate really managing community expectations around how many slots we actually have, so that we're not overwhelmed with demand.
And do you have you done work on the budget to have like a bottom line, like, worst case scenario, we can keep the school up and running?
Yeah, really, that's based on the Marjorie Williams Academy budget. We know when we're at 100 kids, we're break even and actually putting a little bit of money in the bank because of all the other things that are cared for under the partnership with Cross North. Makes a big difference.
Todd, go ahead.
Yeah, I got, maybe it's a point of personal privilege, but as a foster parent for a number of years, and a good friend of Jimmy Mahan's, I've had the fortune of touring the school operations in Avery County. I've been on the campus in Winston-Salem a number of times. I've gotten to know some of the folks at some of the systems around Winston-Salem, and this is a desperate need in Winston-Salem. And I think these folks do a great job in Avery County. They've been doing a great job in Winston-Salem as well. I know it looks a little strange to look at a budget like this and see that there are things that aren't there, but to their point, the systems that they have in place, the expertise of those folks that are supporting those kids, any of us would love to have those in our facilities, I can assure you. I think it's a great group, and I just want to say personal experience that I think they are doing a great job and will continue to do a great job.
All right, so if there's no further questions, go ahead.
It's just more of a comment rather than a question. My biggest concern would be teacher turnover. Okay, not only do you have to be an expert in your content area, but you have to know your kids. That's two different things. Okay, you can master the art of science and mathematics and all that. It's great, but when you're dealing with a specific group of kids, you have to have both equally strong. So my thing would be, are you allotting enough time for training? You want to open in 2025, but when those kids walk in, it's showtime. So are you allotting enough time before you open to train people and say, is this really what you want to do? Because when kids get left by their teachers, that triggers the trauma that we're talking about. Okay, and then the kid will shut down.
Yeah, I would say that the kind of having teachers come back 2 weeks early is what would be kind of on the ongoing basis. We really hope to have the entire summer before opening to have that staff in place, people finishing one job, transitioning, and spending that whole summer building that school culture. What we found in Marjorie Williams Academy is that our teachers come and don't leave. And so when we have a teacher opening, we have more than enough applicants it's a kind of environment that a lot of people went into education to be part of. And I know you all know what that means because of what you do. And so I think that's really important. Finding that first transformational leader as principal is our number one priority. That's what's going to matter the most. And so that we're going to take our time and do that well.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments and answers to our questions. And at this time, you guys have 10 minutes for closing remarks.
As one follow-on to the financial discussion from before, Cross North Communities for Children operates with a $25 million budget and raises about 40% of that privately every year, which is part of why we have a level of confidence in filling some of the gaps that you see on the piece of paper, in addition to the services. And thank you for your comments earlier on behalf. I have served the board of Cross North Communities for Children since 2014. I was a part of the Children's Home Board before we merged. And what impressed me the most was seeing kids graduate and go on to college or a job or something afterwards. And it's a group of kids that we tend as a society to write off. And to watch Marjorie Williams Academy consistently support kids and prove that they can is why I still do this work. I taught high school for 2 years. My heart never left the classroom, but I am seeing what's happening in the mountains and looking at Forsyth County and some of the demographics and the challenges and that particular socioeconomics, et cetera. You know the demographics of the county. If we can do it in the mountains, we can do it in Forsyth County. And we must. If we can do it in the mountains, and that's our obligation, is to find a way to do more of that and do it well. So thank you for your time today.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Burnett, and I'm a parent and an educator. And as both of those, the most important thing to me is what happens in the classroom. And everything that we are trying to create for these children sets them up for success. We plan on having trained teachers who are trained in their field, but also as trauma-informed people. These classrooms are going to be 10 children per classroom. That is a teacher's dream. So I think we're really setting everybody up for success here. And I am just so thrilled to be a part of this organization that really is going to make a difference for all of these children.
Good morning. I'm Chris Gentry. I'm with the Centers for Exceptional Children, and just wanted to say a little bit about supporting children with disabilities at Cross North's new charter school. And I just wanted to say that there are 7,500 children in Forsyth County who have IEPs. I work with families every day who this is their dream. This is what they want for their children. They want their children to receive their education support for their disabilities, their related services, in an environment where they're supported social emotionally, where they have the therapies and the family gets the support they need. So as far as the target population and reaching a minimum of 80 children, I don't think there's going to be any problem. We do have a great broad vision for serving children in the classroom who have disabilities, for pushing in those services, for co-teaching, a model that's often only used in the middle schools, even in the elementary classrooms. And our families are really excited to hear about what's going to be a possibility for their children in the future. So thank you for considering.
And I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to end really as a parent. So I've had 2 children served by the Marjorie Williams Academy Charter School. One, our son we adopted from foster care when he was 16 and a half. When he came into foster care as a 7th grader, he'd already been in 15 different schools and lived in about 30 different places. His idea of his own academic ability was next to zero. Never ever imagined he would graduate high school. He just didn't have a vision. He, in fact, didn't really believe he would live to be beyond 20. He not only graduated and went to college, he's now married and doing well in the community. And that is in no small part to what he's received at Marjorie Williams Academy. And really, it was the belief that he could succeed is what changed everything for him. Also, my youngest child, who is a biological child, who came into the world very early and has been catching up ever since and has some developmental and learning disabilities. And in the traditional system, even in kindergarten, he was starting to have test anxiety. And talking about EOGs and EOCs, which of course don't happen in kindergarten, but he'd heard about it enough that he was anxious. We transitioned him to Marjorie Williams Academy in 6th grade, and it made all the difference. We finally saw a love of school return, and now as a 10th grader, he is above grade level, reading and math and otherwise, and well on his way to college. And just as a parent, I can't tell you the difference. I know there were good, well-meaning people in both of my boys' schools in the past, but their needs were not getting met. And there are a lot of kids, both in foster care and outside of foster care, who the traditional system is not meeting their needs. And that's really the whole reason why we want to replicate the success of Marjorie Williams Academy and have something in Winston-Salem there on the ground to prove that it can be done. And all of our partnerships can wrap themselves around those kids and families. And I hope one day you'll come visit us. Thank you.
I had one final question. Could you talk a little bit about transportation? I know you said that there's a walking trail, but I see $1,000 for gas and oil tires made, but nothing for buses. So,
yeah,
what's how you get?
So we don't anticipate offering transportation at the beginning. If that becomes a barrier to students getting to us, we'll have to reconsider that. At this point, we don't offer transportation at Marjorie Williams Academy, and kids come from all over the county. If you know anything about Avery County, that sometimes during the year, that's a tough thing to do, given the snow that we get. But we have no problem getting kids to get there, no problem with the attendance. We don't anticipate we'll have that problem either in Winston-Salem, but if it does become a barrier to our kids having access, we will absolutely address that, but don't anticipate opening with transportation.
How many of your board members here are also on the board of Marjorie Williams?
Just one.
Just one. Okay.
That was quick. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our time for deliberation, comments, questions, anything for discussion?
I applaud the need to want to serve these children.
I think they adequately answered the questions that we had readily and knew the answers, and I was appreciative of your preparedness and willing to tackle those questions.
Yeah, looking at, if you were a standalone charter school with only 180 students, I'd have a lot of reservation with what you're doing. But your partnership and plus your track record at Crossnor, I also visited Crossnor 100 years ago when, before you actually took outside community students. So y'all doing, you have a good track record, and that partnership makes it viable. But a 180 child charter school is not viable without a partnership like what you have set up. So.
That partnership answered a lot of questions
Yes.
for me,
Yes,
because I was like,
absolutely.
I mean, you get really scary when you get down there, 80 students that, you know, you hope that there's 80.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a unique need that you're serving, or will serve. Love the connection with the local LEA, high school across the street, and definitely the connection with the organization. That alleviated a lot of concern. I'm not gonna lie, I was rereading the budget over the weekend and like, ooh.
How exciting is it though to hear a
it's,
partnership like that with a school
Right.
system and a charter school? I mean, that's, you know, that's what we, you know, you hope to shoot for, you know? I mean, that's what everybody shoots for.
As a charter leader, though, myself, and maybe it's just my, I don't know, history or experience, there's something in me that says, the budget, as slim as it is concerning. And while that partnership is fantastic, just thinking about the sustaining, if and or when it's not readily available. You know, I know how hard it is when you need a school counselor or a school nurse and you need it right then. And if you can't right then, because they're somewhere else, helping somewhere else with, you know, the partnership. But that, yes, I agree, that partnership alleviated many of my concerns.
You know, just thinking ahead too for transportation issues, if thinking Winston-Salem, like a transit authority or something like that, like fostering a partnership with them for, even if you don't buy your own buses, to be able to use their transit system to be able to get kids to school. There's grants and things like that that are available to help with some of that.
I would like to say, certainly hope you don't need that, because apparently we're at an all-time low for children walking to school in the country. That there's a feeling that every kid should be on a bus somewhere or being transported to school. My children walked to school in their early years. It was the most wonderful thing, not just for the kids, for the whole community. The community came out to see the kids off to school in the morning, and there were parents around watching the kids come home in the evening. And to the extent that you're able to improve your community because your kids are out there walking back and forth to home, I think that's a wonderful thing. And when charter schools were, you know, sort of first created, one of the selling points was there were going to be opportunities for the schools to innovate. And now I'm a charter enthusiast, but the innovation that you're bringing obviously is taking some people who were quite skeptical of charters and giving them second thoughts as well, because they're able to see the innovation. And, you know, in my mind, you're doing God's work, and you know, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Some of us walked uphill both ways.
I did in the snow. Like I did that in the snow.
My kids don't believe that.
I grew up in northeast Pennsylvania. I did walk both ways. All right, so do we have a motion at this time for, sir? What's your motion, sir?
Motion that we approve the school to move to RTO.
We have a motion, and we have a second. All right. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Not hearing any? Let's go to roll call.
All right, motion to approve Crossnor, Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Approves.
Alex Quigley, Todd Godby,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
Bartley Danielson,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
A unanimous approval.
Congratulations.
Our first approval of this charter school cycle. So our office will be in contact with you as you get prepped to enter, ready to open, okay?
And I want to just add that anybody that's watching that is getting ready to come, this is how, to me, is, this is how it's done.
Yes.
Right? Not only is your any questions there were to the application were answered by the applicant, and not only answered, but with passion and clarity. So I appreciate your preparation and I wish you the best of luck.
All right. Ashley, I'll turn it over to you for our introduction of our next presenter.
Okay, are you guys ready? Oh, okay, great, we're moving really quickly. Okay, we have Rhonda Dillingham coming up with the North Carolina Association of Public Charter Schools. Just a second.
Yeah, we're 45 minutes ahead. Don't jinx it.
Good morning, Rhonda.
Hey.
All right.
You know, I have to network a little bit before I get up here. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rhonda Dillingham, Executive Director of the North Carolina Association for Public Charter Schools, and it's my privilege to be here today to talk about the Shining Star Innovation Award. Since the original charter school bill was passed more than 25 years ago, which established a system of laboratories of innovation, Dr. Danielson, public charter schools have grown from 33 schools in 1996 to over 200 today. Though parents are increasingly turning to options outside their government-assigned schools, public charter schools often find themselves being on the defensive as they fight against stereotypes and myths. Negative stories are fodder for the media, so too often the public is exposed to criticism of public charter schools, rarely hearing the valuable aspects of these schools of choice. It's very important to shift the narrative and gain control of our stories, sharing with the public and policymakers alike the positive experiences and academic successes of thousands of students who've graduated from our schools. One avenue that the North Carolina Association for Public Charter Schools saw that had not been explored in our state was a formalized way to recognize public charter schools that are going above and beyond expectations to meet the needs of students in innovative, unique, and creative ways. We sought to partner with a corporate sponsor to create an annual innovation award. Through a process of submissions and votes, one school was selected to receive this award with second and third place winners as well. Our goal was that beyond a monetary prize, this school would be in the coveted position of being the shining star of educational ingenuity, representing all public charter schools in the state. Charter Success Partners, a leading provider of charter school accounting and operational support services, was eager to sponsor such an award. This summer, at the NCAPCS annual convention, Ascend Leadership Academy's video submission for the Shining Star Innovation Award was voted most innovative by the over 600 charter schools in attendance at the conference. The North Carolina Association for Public Charter Schools was honored to join Charter Success Partners in presenting the 2023 Shining Star Innovation Award to Ascend Leadership Academy's Managing Director, Justin Smith. And at this time, I'll ask Justin to come up and share with you why his school was chosen and what makes them so special.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Rhonda, for the introduction. I brought some guests with me this morning, but I wanted to give you a quick context. I understand the time, and obviously, thank you for having us and having the honor to be here this morning to present about our school. I'm always eager to do that, get the word out about Ascend Leadership Academy. So very happy to be here. I'll introduce my guests in a second here. I'm going to let them talk, and I'll give it some context of why they're here too. But ALA, we're in Sanford, North Carolina. Hopefully you know where that is, in Lee County. We're in our 6th year of operation. Just got our renewal. We were here last year for our renewal. And we're a 6 through 12 school. Serve about 600 students currently, most of them from Harnett and Lee counties. And our tagline is empowering students for the 21st century. And in this process, as Rhonda described, we made a video talking about our innovation. And a part of that video, well, the main part of our innovation is how we empower students to be leaders, not only in their school community, but in the local community. And that's kind of what our video was about. And the whole context of the video was where students from our tech crew took over the video, kicked me out, and talked about themselves about how the school was innovative. And it kind of goes along with the theme of our school and what we try to do with students and giving them opportunities for leadership. That's what leadership is for us. So we also do project-based leadership, which is one of our innovations. Project-based leadership is where we take project-based learning, but we're giving students opportunities to go into the community, giving students opportunities to lead, and we encourage all of our teachers to add elements of leadership in their projects, whether it's public speaking or collaborating with other students to build their collaboration skills. We have things like Shark Tank, where they have to pitch businesses and ideas to community members and staff. They make children's books, and then they go to other charter schools. Like we have a partnership with MENA that's going to happen next month, where our 7th graders make children's books about a certain topic in digital media and social studies, and they're going to read those books to the kindergarten class in another charter school in Lee County. And then other things like digital marketing. We try to connect with other businesses in the community. So we have a digital media focus in our school, and the students have to, for our digital marketing class, create logos and advertisements for local businesses, and then pitch them to the actual owners of those businesses, trying to give them real-world leadership experience. So that's kind of the idea from a curriculum standpoint. And I have Josh and Perla who are here to talk about our other areas of innovation. Wanted to give them the opportunity to speak. How often do they get this opportunity to come and represent their school as 12th graders? They're 12th graders at our school. And our second area of innovation is our Capstone Senior Project. And Perla is going to come and talk about her experience, and I'll kind of fill in some gaps too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Perla Osorio, and as Mr. Smith said, I am a senior at Ascend Leadership Academy. For my senior project, I went with a direction that was more career-oriented. My internship is with Raleigh Symphony Orchestra under the executive board member and marketing committee chair. With this internship, I was using it as an opportunity to further develop my visual literacy skills. And with these skills, I intend to use these in the organizations that I currently participate at ALA and apply them to what we do there and how I apply them also in the outside world. For my research, I am exploring the different styles of content in order to determine what kinds of things captivate an audience and on a larger scale, and adapts this constant change in social media so that businesses can stay up to date and still keep bringing in their audience or bring in new people. But with my main point of research, I am going in to see how brands and businesses can use these social media platforms and these new trends to gain a better understanding of their audience, as well as the reverse of the audience being able to clearly identify a business and what they provide. As going back to the visual literacy aspect for this project, I am creating a digital product, which will be a short film that explores a certain concept, and then following with that short film, I am also going to be making marketing certain content, making graphics, and maybe a shorter film of behind the scenes that would be used to advertise to an audience and see the different content and how the interaction is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. So all of our senior students participate in this senior project. It's not year-long, but it's kind of year-long in that it's a collaboration between their 12th grade English teacher and their digital media CT Advanced Studies teacher as well. So they all participate in research, an internship, they have to produce a product, and they do a presentation of learning at the end of the school year as well. The next part of innovation is our student-led organizations, where we have clubs, but we don't call them clubs, we call them student-led organizations, where we give our students the opportunity to actually lead and have some ownership in the things that these extracurricular organizations do. So Josh Gibbons is here, he's gonna talk about how he plays a role in his favorite student-led organization.
So as Mr. Smith said, my name is Joshua Givens. I am the stage manager for our technical theater program. I've been a part of that program since it started 6 years ago when school opened, and we've grown exponentially in that time. When I started, we had 10 students, 10 crew members. Now there's over 30. We just had a show on last Saturday. It was a haunted house that we spent a few months working on that is completely written, designed, produced, and constructed by students. The only thing students don't handle is the finances of it. And we served in 4 hours over 350 people from the community who came through our house. Last year we had 192. This year it jumped to over 350. We do 4 major shows a year: a haunted house, a fall play, a talent show, and a musical. 2 in the spring. The talent show and musical are in the spring, and the haunted house and the play are in the fall. I've been a part of this organization, and I helped it grow. There's multiple crews. Each crew has a manager. I'm in charge of our backstage crew, and we have one advisor that helps us all. We have had to teach ourselves and learn as much as we could and find innovative ways to get around some problems that we have. Like we do not have a theater at our school, so we perform in the gym on a stage, and we've created amazing shows without having any real facility for it. And that is, I think that helps every member of the crew, every student, learn how to adapt to a situation without having necessarily the perfect tool for it.
Thank you.
Voice you have there, Josh. I love that. Excellent. And that's just one example of one of our student-led organizations. We also have esports, rugby, and some other organizations that are completely student-led, where they have a hierarchy, so to speak, of managers and positions and officers where they make decisions. They actually make decisions, and our faculty kind of facilitate the process. And that kind of concludes our presentation. But finally, our other innovations, we do have Late Start Wednesdays where our staff do tuning protocols and vertical alignment. Every Wednesday, students come in an hour later, and we're able to do some professional development. We participate in student-led conferences, which we changed a little bit this year. And then I also talked about our digital media curriculum, where students are getting certifications in the Adobe Suite, Photoshop, Illustrator, and our goal is to get 100% certification in these industry-level softwares. So that's the Ascend Leadership Academy. We're honored to receive the Shining Star Innovation Award, and hopefully we'll be back in front of you with more positive things in the future. Thank you so much.
Just thank you again for that presentation, for the work your school is doing. That's outstanding. I can see why they won. I did have a quick question, if I may, Rhonda. Have you, like on the productions you're doing, do you have the capacity to invite other schools, students from other schools in to come see them? Or?
The productions?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in our gym, so, and it is small, but we probably could, yes. We're trying to grow everything, as you can imagine, as a charter school, we're trying to grow everything, and the students are a big part of that. But yeah, we'd be honored to have people come and join us for those, for sure.
I would think just that the theater downtown would be happy to work with you all to provide facilities for shows.
Yeah, right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, in fact, I think Central Carolina Academy,
right,
also did that in the spring.
You're talking about Temple Theater, I think, or?
Temple Theater.
Yeah, right, yeah, we have a connection with Temple as well. We use a lot of their stuff. We don't go there to perform, but because the students lose some autonomy with that process. And I think they kind of liked it in the gym because they can kind of make their own decisions and do things in the way that they want to. So, but yeah, I mean, there's opportunities for that.
I
to
was just
visit.
thinking, you know, if you're gonna provide
Sure.
opportunities for other schools to come visit.
Right.
Or to see a show.
Absolutely.
Be a good venue.
Yeah, or maybe branch
Good
out a little
job,
bit more.
man.
Yeah,
Good
I
job.
appreciate it.
I'd like to see you include the financial literacy part,
Yeah, okay.
or how to run the business from the
Sure.
financial aspect as well.
Yeah, like making them create budgets and things like
Yeah.
that, yeah. They contribute a little bit to that, usually that's more the teacher, but we can definitely.
Especially if you have a
mention that too
DECA
as well.
club or
DECA,
something.
yeah, we have a DECA club as well, yeah, that's awesome.
Great job.
Thank you,
Good
I
job,
appreciate it.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right, okay, we've got amendments next.
Okay, good morning, Nikki Nowinski, Office of Charter Schools Consultant. So today I bring before you another mission statement amendment request from Bethany Community School. Bethany Community School is a public charter school in Guilford County, and they're currently serving approximately 600 students in grades 6 through 12. They have been open since August 2000, initially serving 6th through 8th grade, and expanded to serve students in 9th through 12th grade in 2017. In the fall of 2022, BCS began a strategic mission, purpose, and goal review, and during this review and as a result of their school's growth, the board felt it was the right time to review and amend the school's mission statement. This new mission statement was reviewed by all stakeholders and input was received, and the board updated the school's mission statement to better reflect the goals of Bethany Community School. The original mission statement was, Bethany Community School provides a safe and nurturing environment while setting the benchmark for developing academic success and character excellence. The proposed new mission statement reads, Bethany Community School will be the premier school of choice where academic rigor and character excellence are standards to cultivate college-ready learners and strengthen community. It is our recommendation and hope that the Charter School Review Board will approve the Bethany Community Schools request to amend their mission statement.
Okay, we have the recommendation from Office of Charter Schools to approve the mission statement. First, does anyone have any questions, I'd say, for the office? Got a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Second, any discussion?
I didn't get, who
Yeah,
did the
Alex.
motions?
Alex
Made
did.
the motion.
Alex made the
Alex
motion.
made the motion.
So moved.
And I
You
second.
seconded it, okay, thank you.
Any discussion? Let's just do we don't think we do roll call on this. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passes. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, and it looks like Dr. Ross just walked in, so we're running quickly, so
So let's,
perfect timing.
Let's do
Ashley, let's take 5 minutes to let
Okay.
Dr. Ross get,
Yeah.
catch his breath.
Yeah.
So we'll come back at 10, we'll do 10 minutes, 10:45.
Okay.
What grade is this leadership? No, grade, like.
I think it's K-12 now.
Trying to save your drive.
Okay, so we're going to adjust the schedule slightly. We're going to go ahead and move the director's updates to right now. Then we'll transition back to Apprentice Academy High School, School Improvement Plan, and depending on time available, we may even be able to bump up the reconsideration application prior to lunch. We'll play it by ear, see how the next two segments go. So Ashley, take it away.
Okay, great. So some quick updates for you. We will go ahead and do these now, and we won't have to do them tomorrow. State Board will convene in 2 weeks, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. First week of November at ECU. It is a planning session, so we usually do those out of the building. Our office will present the charter renewal guidelines, so the guidelines that you all have approved that we are starting to, we're working on our recommendations using those new guidelines and sharing that to the schools who will start to appear to in front of you in November. So those will go to State Board. We'll see, what kind of discussion is had at the board. And then in November, our meeting is November 6th and 7th. And you will hear, we'll continue our applications, obviously, and then you will also begin hearing from renewals. So Ms. Jenna Cook from my office will present kind of an overview of the schools we have in the renewal cohort this year. And we have switched it up this year. Normally, we start with the 10 years and then kind of go 10, 7, 5, 3 recommendations. We've actually completely flipped that. So you will be hearing from the schools that we have placed at a 3-year. Of course, that is just our initial placement based on the data that we have, and then they discuss, you interview them, and then we provide all the updates that we get from compliance meetings within the building, and then finance, of course, always does their update. So that will begin in November. And then we have 1 vacancy in the office. We're working to fill that. We are starting interviews soon for that, so we will be fully staffed with 8. And then we also received an assistant director in the budget. So eventually, it takes some time to get all that, but we will eventually have an assistant director, which is fabulous. So those are the OCS updates. I also wanted to give you a little bit of context for what you will hear today for the reconsideration votes. So you will have 1 today, and then you will have 1 at tomorrow's meeting. And House Bill 618, which created your board, this new charter review board, contained a section regarding reconsideration of previous state board decisions. So any applicant or charter school that received a decision on an application, amendment, renewal, or termination from the state board after July 1st, 2022, that differed from the decision of the Charter Schools Advisory Board may apply for the decision to be reconsidered. The timeline to apply has already passed. We had 2 that came forward, 2 applicants, ALA Monroe, which you will hear from today, and then Heritage Collegiate Leadership Academy of Wake County, which you will hear from tomorrow. And just to reiterate, this is not a full interview. You are not re-interviewing. As a CSAB, it was already interviewed. Both of these boards were. Your role is to just vote again on these applications as a reconsideration. And we've asked the board to have some representation here to give a brief update, if there is an update to their board and anything that you may have heard at the last interview. And then the language of the legislation is clear that the board shall issue a decision at the first meeting after the request. So in other words, there are no second rounds. You're making a decision today based on the legislation. Any questions on what we have coming up in November? Any requests for the November meeting or concerns in anything else that I may help you with?
Ashley, on the renewal, process-wise, are we voting on, you're presenting the 3 years and then 5s, are you wanting us to vote on them collectively at the very end or after each?
Yes, I think unless there's a case where you just feel like a vote needs to be had at that moment, what we are expecting is what we did last year, which we will provide you with like a very thorough kind of data packet, a way for you to take notes during the interviews and during this entire process, because it will take place over several months. And then what we envision is a vote in either January or February. That often depends on, if there's any late audits and how quickly we can get our financial reports of compliance in for each school. So yes, we don't anticipate you voting individually at the exact interview time, but later, a few months later after we've concluded all of the interviews.
In the past, well, one of the elements that goes into these considerations is whether or not schools are meeting or exceeding some metric. I'd like to get some information on how met or exceeds is actually determined.
Okay,
Well,
we can get that for you, but,
I was gonna say,
I
I
can
wish
give you
the
a
best,
summary.
yeah.
the best of
We can
luck
talk
on
at
that.
lunch. It's not actually that complicated.
Yeah.
If you trust that the model is right.
Well, and I'd like to see the model.
I would argue that the model is accurate. I might be alone in that, but it reinforces what I see every year in the data.
And I have a resource from Accountability that breaks it down, which will be very helpful, I think, in terms of, for someone that doesn't operate a charter school, in terms of understanding the letter grades, how those are calculated, and how the not met, and exceeded growth is calculated.
So the one element that concerns me about that metric is when there's a cutoff line, most of the other, in research that I do, there's a point estimate, and then we have something called a confidence interval, which basically is how sure are you that this school exceeds, or how sure are you that this school hasn't met? And because if you've got a very small number of students, presumably we're evaluating the school as a whole, not just the cohort of students this year. And if you've got a limited number of students, you may not be, I don't know how confident one feels, particularly if we're measuring exceeds or doesn't meet based on how they compare to other schools who also have uncertainty in their data. And so I just want to be sure I understand what the metric is, and I'm always suspicious of a point estimate where nobody can tell you how confident they are that that point estimate is right.
Yeah, I'll provide
You're
you.
gonna have to talk to somebody at EVOS at that level.
Yeah.
You're
That's
gonna have
possible.
to go deep with another professor.
That's possible, but at least I want to know what I'm looking at.
I take back my comments.
Yeah, I will definitely, I'll provide some information from Accountability, and just as, to reiterate, the data that we, provide to you to make your decisions on renewal is the state accountability data. So it's the same accountability data that any public school in the state would be, using.
But the stakes are higher here for a lot of these
Oh,
schools.
yes, and I think.
So we're using the same data, but with much higher stakes.
Yeah.
Ashley, a follow-up question on renewals as well. I know we're gonna be hearing from all the schools whose renewal is now, but there were 3-4 schools that received a 3-year renewal this past cycle that had those very specific stipulations. Are we inviting them back at some point, say after year 1, to see if those stipulations are on track to being met? Because if I remember correctly, some of the stipulations were such that if you didn't meet it even in the 1 year, your renewal was in jeopardy. So are we
Yeah.
bringing those schools back at all, or is there a plan to do that?
We are. We have, we're tracking kind of the stipulation, like, requirements, for each of those schools. We've actually visited all of those schools already. So we're putting in place some type of, routine kind of update from those schools. And then you'll also be hearing from, next month, you'll be hearing from Next Generation, which, I believe it was the state board who put a stipulation requiring quarterly, was it the state board or? Oh, it was this board, that requires a quarterly appearance from Next Generation. So we'll have an update from them as well. But we're tracking all of those, and then we'll keep you updated.
And isn't there there are edits or there's changes that are happening with the accountability model as we speak too? So the things that we're judging schools on today are gonna be different a year from now. So it's an interesting conversation to have, for sure.
And I think too, the renewal guidelines that you have revised has, we've included language specifically now about subgroup data, and considering, you might consider things like, patterns of compliance issues or patterns of complaints, like teacher turnover. There's a lot of different things that get kind of considered when you're considering a renewal. It's not just accountability data. The other thing I wanted to mention for November is we had 4 movement school applications that were submitted. I might have sent you the withdrawal, but I might have forgot. So movement schools, University City withdrew, the one in Charlotte. So we will update the list of interviews, but just so you know, you'll have the other 3 movement school applications all on that Monday. All right, I think that's it for me. And yep, we're ready. Okay, let me get the projector down really quick, and then we have Apprentice here. They were asked to come back and update their school improvement plan. Yeah, you can. I'll get the projector down so I can pull that up if you want.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Barry Ross. I'm the founder and principal of Apprentice Academy High School.
And I'm John Jedra. I'm the board chair for the school.
We have some of our other board members listening in. So this morning, I'm back here to we're here to talk to you about our stipulation school improvement plan and our professional development plan. So you want me to wait for that or just go?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So we came up with 3 school improvement goals, which are pretty much tied into the one we submitted for the state. Our goal number 1 is that Apprentice Academy will improve its school report card grade from a D to a B by June 30th of 2025. Goal number 2 is we're going to increase our math proficiency to achieve a 75% proficiency rate again by June of 2025. And then the last goal is to improve our graduation rate from a 60% to a 75%, again by June of 2025. There were, as you can see, we had different strategies, and I should say the plan we have and the strategies we're using are already being implemented. We're already using those, but our main focus is we've hired, some people you may know her, is Dr. Lisa Swinson from K-12, Swinson K-12, and she is the primary person helping us with our school improvement strategies. Along with that, we've done a couple other things. We've turned the school into a PLC school, and my staff and myself, we've gone to PLC training this past summer. And additionally, we've also brought on SREB, the Southern Regional Education Board, to work with my math teachers. So those are the primary strategies, along with Dr. Swinson for the staff, and then of course for the Board of Education and Leadership. Some of you may know Dr. Tom Miller. So we've contracted with him. So he is providing. He already started this summer. He's providing the board training to meet the stipulation for the board. So those are our specific strategies for getting to our school improvement goals. Okay, if there's no questions, and I guess we'll go on to the actual professional development plan. I'll let John first, because we did it with the board first, so I'll let John will start off talking about the professional development plan for the board.
So for the professional development plan for the board, we have established for the next 3 years 5 sessions per year. The first session actually happened in August. It was a 6-hour retreat that we did with the board, that we sat down with Tom and went over some guiding strategies. And then for the follow-on 4 sessions that we'll have every 2 months, the next one's coming up in November, which is they're all going to be virtual sessions. And then once again, August of next year, we'll have another in-person session. As we do those, we do have the consulting with Tom as well, where we can reach out with him at any time to be able to ask questions or to come in and have a follow-on meeting with us. Part of that development is he's sitting down with us and he's provided us some guidance on different ways and strategies that we can create different policies, how we structure those policies, as well as the committees that we have within the board. So then that way we have the proper guidance and templates to be able to use going forward.
Remind me, how many years has your school been operational?
with students, this is our 5th year. We start, our first charter was in 2018, but we took a 1-year delay, and our first year with students was 2019.
How many members of the board that you have now were with you from the very beginning?
There is only one board member. She just actually just returned. She's a new treasurer, so she has come back. But otherwise, all the rest of the board members were not with us when we first opened.
About how long have they been on the board?
Oh, about 3 years on average. I've been there for almost 2.5 now.
Are you guys, I was just gonna ask, are you guys still, you're planning on relocating right at the?
Yes,
and-
we've signed a new 5-year lease, and and with that lease comes an option of 3 more 5-year leases so we have our home for the next 20 years.
Oh, wow. And have you guys, are parents aware yet, or do you have a
Yes,
plan?
we've notified the parents, both in person and through letters. So and we're only moving a few miles down the road. So we're staying within the boundaries, and that was a primary concern of the parents, is that we were gonna move too far away. So they're all delighted that we're not moving very far.
Ashley, were there other stipulations on the renewal besides school improvement plan?
Yes, let's see, I believe that they have to meet growth for.
2 out of the next 3.
Yeah, they have to meet growth 2 out of the, immediately following 3 years. And no financial noncompliance, no other, major compliance issues.
So we didn't have this time around either.
Right, yeah.
That was a question for me. Are we good? Because I know the last time we met, we talked about, I think there were quite a number of findings financially, so we're.
Not for our
this
school.
one.
No, for us, we've had all clean audits since we've started. We don't have any financial situation.
Let me double check.
Have any of the board members attended some of the professional developments offered through, say, the Charter School Association's conference this summer? Or
We have not.
recently, the AIM conference?
The vice chair.
The vice chair has, Sharon. She's the vice chair. She's been the only one that's had the opportunity to attend.
Any other questions for?
My mistake, I was looking at another apprentice. I apologize.
Thank you.
So Dr. Ross, on your, I don't know if you're gonna keep going, do you have like interim goals? I mean, cause you got, going to 75% for math is a huge jump.
Yes.
Do you have interim goals where you're?
We do, but I wanted to, because we have to have our next renewal in a little less than 3 years now, so yes, that's why we projected 2 years, but yeah, obviously, this coming year, with Dr. Swinson, our goal is to go from a D to a C, and just, anyone who's worked with Dr. Swinson, every school that she's worked with, she has taken that school from a D to a C in 1 year, as long as they follow the program, which we're doing, and also, I didn't put it in there, but specifically, I'm working with Alex as part of his training, and they also have success with moving schools in 1 year. But our goal is to get to that B, so that data is ready for the next renewal.
And along with that, we've opened up 7th and 8th grade for the school, both of which are completely full. We actually had a wait list trying to get in this year. That'll help us be able to educate those students and prep them as they're going into high school for the EOG and EOCs.
Any other questions from CSRB members?
Just as a reminder, you guys have to vote on this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have one other question. So, you're 90F, correct? That's your school
That's
number?
us, yes, correct.
So, the findings financially were in the ESSER funds?
Yes, but they weren't financial findings, they were actually, it's just paperwork that we had to accumulate, put together, because I think Ashley said, that was actually clean. We cleaned that up before we actually ever went to these meetings, but unfortunately, they were still up there even though.
Just double checking, now. Thank you so much.
When you talk about one of your plans is to organize your PLCs,
Yes.
have you been in communication with other schools perhaps, maybe modeling what you've seen at other schools working well, or who's going to lead that effort for you?
Well, that I have not, but we, myself and a good portion of my staff, we actually went in Charlotte this June. They had they actually had a PLC training that was put on by the DeFores, but not them, they're dead, but the DeFore company. So we went to that particular training on how to get started, and we've been following that program. But no, we haven't seen any other PLC schools.
But you feel you have the staff and through your leadership to implement those successfully?
We do, and I will say admittedly, we have had, I do have some new staff members, new young staff members, some of the staff members I had last year. This whole process, I'll just say, it kind of frightened them, so, and they didn't know what, they decided to leave because, I just quote one of them, "Dr. Ross, I can't handle this pressure." I respect anyone who says they can't handle it, so our new staff, they don't know any better, so they're excited about it.
So, Dr. Ross,
Yes.
what was your score this year? What was your performance score, and then what was your growth score?
It was also, but we were a D once again, so we pretty much did not move the needle from 22 to 23, you know, and as my assistant principal and staff, we assessed that. Some of the grant money we used, I guess when you say you're looking for new and innovative, we took some of the traditional ways, hoping that we could move the needle with our students. I spent a lot of money on tutoring and all that, but that did not get it done. And that's why this year we don't have any of that. We're actually working with consultants, and our emphasis is on changing teacher behaviors. So I expect our goal is to move that needle from, like I said, from a D to a C this year, but we didn't do much. We didn't do it last year.
Can you talk about your student population, so kind of everybody understands, you're not a typical student population.
No,
So people need to understand that.
Yeah, so yeah, just, we, and I don't know how familiar you are with Union County. Union County Public Schools is probably one of the finest performing school districts in the state. People actually move to Union County for the school districts, to give you an idea of what our competition is. So the Union County is split in two. There's the western side of the county, the eastern side of the county. The western side of the county is where all the wealth and affluence is. So we don't get, so the students that we have, most of the county is college preparatory. That's why people move there. We are not a college preparatory school. We've never pretended to be one. Our mission, we're a trades-based school. Our mission is to prepare students for the alternative pathway to success, which is through the trades, healthcare, and other type of career operations. So those are the students that we recruit. Those are the students that we get. And through this process, one thing, it's made us look at some things and how we're changing things. To give you, for instance, our focus on math is for a reason. We have been terrible in math. We have been in the single digits, low double digits, because before we added a middle school, we were a standalone high school. We had no idea the students that we were getting or how prepared or they were. And anyone who's run a high school knows, if you do a traditional schedule of a semester math, you have 90 days to teach Math 1 to students who maybe have never passed math in their entire lives. And part of this process realized that does not work, has not worked for us, and that's not the student population we serve. So we've changed the master schedule. In addition to these other strategies, we have now made Math 1 is now a year-long math course. So and part of the training I've gone through, we realized that you can't just teach remedial math separately and hope that the students get the on grade level math. So now we have a whole year, and it's simultaneous. So while we're plugging the gaps in what students are missing for their math skills, we're also teaching them the math skills they need to function on grade level, to pass that Math 1 course. And it is our hope that in May, when we take our EOC exam, that we will see the success that we're hoping for. And as I tell my students, if they could pass Math 1, the rest of high school is easy. They could do anything. But Math 1 is the key to success in high school. At least that's my humble opinion.
You asked what the student population looks like. What is the racial makeup of the school?
Okay. So we are currently, doing those off the top of my head, I don't have it, but we're roughly about 50 to 55% Caucasian. We're just over 20% Hispanic. And to give you a comparison, I know our raw numbers don't clearly not part of the school, like the school district, but I believe the school district may be 13% Hispanic. We're at 20%. Our EC population is at 22%. The school district is around roughly 9 or 10%. Our African-American population, that's about on par with the school district. We're around 15%, and they're somewhere between 13 and 15%. But it's that EC population that really should send a message, because our EC parents, they feel confident in what we're doing. That's why they send, I should say, I'm a former EC teacher. I had an EC son of my own. My assistant principal, also a former EC teacher. So our EC parents feel comfortable sending there. And I know we didn't have a whole lot to brag on, but if you looked at some of our numbers, we did pretty darn good with our EC students. And as you know, that's a challenge, not only statewide, nationwide, to make any kind of headway with the EC students.
Remind me again, when are you moving into your new facility?
June. We have to be there July 1st. So our current lease expires June 30th.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion on this school improvement plan?
I'll make a motion to accept the school improvement plan as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think, Dr. Ross, I think you got a big hill to climb to get to 75% in your math. So that's why I was thinking your interim. I think you need to make sure you track your successes, because
Absolutely.
I mean, we've talked in the
Yes.
past and some of the things with Tom, that it's not, yours may not be a grade at the end. It's what you're doing with these kids and giving them an opportunity. So I know you're graded, like
Right.
Bart was talking about earlier, you're graded against everybody else, but you're doing a different type mission than a lot of other schools. So you need to celebrate that along the way and make sure that your benchmarks, that you can talk about those.
Absolutely. I didn't put on here, of course, we also have a focus on growth. So even if we don't hit that 75%, as long as we exceed that growth, then hopefully we'll all be happy.
Any other comments or discussion? All right, hearing none. Ashley, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Hilda Parlay,
Approved.
Alex Quigley,
Aye.
Todd Gottlieb,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
Bart Danielson,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right. So that's approved. We will continue to stay in touch. I
Ma'am.
sent you the feedback yesterday.
You did. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And let us know if you need anything.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay, so we're about 30 minutes ahead of schedule, believe it or not, more than that. 37 minutes ahead of schedule.
That might be that's good.
Are representatives from ALA Monroe here? If
They're close. Okay, what, 5 minutes you think, Greg? Yeah, they should be here in 5 minutes.
is it the pleasure of the board to go ahead and interview them now in 5 minutes, or go to lunch? Lunch is here, and then come back early.
It's very much the pleasure of the board to, I'm sorry, speaking.
As vice chair, I would say yes.
Let's move on.
Let's go, Nick. Let's
Okay.
do it.
All right, we'll give them, presuming they're coming up in the elevators, let's take a quick 5-minute break. And, yeah. And Ashley, is there a way perhaps to notify folks from Scott Saba that we're running ahead?
We're gonna try to do that.
Okay.
Just so you know, the mics are still on, you're not in here to turn them off right yet, so.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great, or even, yeah, that'd be great. Or tell them 12:45. Just to make sure.
That would be, because at the end of the day, I don't even think he can explain it. Well, now, yeah, she could do a master's course in it, very good. That was a person that was made for the job that she does. She understands data at a level that very few people can even grasp. Mm-hmm. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Everything's moving right along?
reconsideration application for American Leadership Academy in Monroe. I won't repeat everything Ashley said at the beginning of today's meeting, but this is not really intended to be a re-interview, but rather a opportunity for, they had the opportunity to appeal the state board decision and have it back to the Charter School Review Board for us to reconsider the decisions the state board made. We're going to give the applicant today and tomorrow the reconsideration. The applicant, how much time are we giving them, Ashley? About 30 minutes?
How much? 45 minutes we allotted for each school.
Okay,
We're not
and
counting
so, again, not necessarily a re-interview, but we will be glad to hear from the applicant, anything they would like to share, based upon the last time they were in front of us, and perhaps from, the comments that were made at the state board as well. So, welcome the applicant. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for being flexible as well. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we made it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Charter School Review Board. I'm Mitchell Schwab. I'm the chairperson of the board for ALA Monroe. As you know, and has been discussed, I'm sure, prior to my coming here, is we came before the Charter School Advisory Board twice before, and were approved twice before, and also rejected twice by the State Board of Education. And as such, with the new legislation, had this opportunity to come before you for reconsideration, and we've chosen to do so. I don't know all of you. I'll give you a quick little introduction. My name, as I said, is Mitchell Schwab. I'm an attorney. I have a lot of background in charter schools. And I know that a lot of questions have come up about the management organization, as you see with the slideshow up there. And with that, we have, I would like to introduce Christina Schubert, who our board has chosen to be the interim director of ALA Monroe to get the school open. And I'll turn it to her.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to have ALA Monroe's application reconsidered. My name is Christina Schubert, and I am here representing ALA Monroe as interim director. My experience in charter schools goes back to 2007. I've served in a variety of capacities, first as a teacher, an assistant director, founding director of 2 large campuses, and as a director of academics. Most recently, I had the honor and privilege of serving as founding director of Wake Preparatory Academy, helping lead them in North Carolina's largest day 1 opening for charter schools. I'm also proud to share that we wrapped up our inaugural year successfully educating over 1,800 students with a 100% graduation rate, earning a C grade and striving for an A in coming years. On a more personal note, I have a junior and a 6th grade, a junior son and a 6th grade son who have attended charter schools since kindergarten. Charter One, as Mitch mentioned, is our education management group. Our hope is that with your approval today, we will be opening ALA Monroe for the 2024 school year. And should we be approved by the board, we would occupy an existing building with a clear educational certificate of occupancy. Since this time last year, our interest list has grown to 1,118 families, which equates approximately to over 2,000 students. We are expected to open year 1 with 450 students. And we look forward to offering more school choice in the area. We will be open to all students regardless of zip code. We are governed by our board of directors, and the board of directors, as you know, will contract with Charter One to manage and operate the school. That being said, it's important for you all to know what Charter One will be doing to serve ALA Monroe. So these next 2 slides will show the many, many services that we expect to receive from Charter One. Having served as Wake Prep's director, I can personally attest to the quality and comprehensiveness of their services. and how they've helped me manage a very large school successfully. So, you know, one of the heavy lifts that they support with is just in day-to-day operations, development of processes and procedures, school handbooks, the discipline matrix, professional development for administrators and teachers. Another heavy lift that they support us with is within student information systems. They manage PowerSchool for us, as well as our lottery management system, and then they provide training to our registrars and office managers. In addition to that, they offer human resources support, academic support, which is huge. They vet the curriculum and map it out for us. They align it to the state standards for us, and they provide professional development. We'll be supported with exceptional student services, health, finance and accounting, another huge one. They will support everything from payroll to accounts payable, accounts receivable, all of our bookkeeping, grant applications, the management of those applications and compliance. They'll also support marketing, IT, food service, facilities, transportation, and athletics. So these are all services that without Charter One, ALA would have to contract out individually. So you can imagine the nightmare workload that would be for a school director. It would be incredibly stressful and time-consuming. So Charter One is our one-stop shop. They can help us take care of everything with transparency and along with the board's oversight. And they will do this and provide these services in alignment with our mission, vision, and values. We can go ahead and switch things. I understand you are already very familiar with ALA, so the following slides have been included for your independent review. They'll cover our philosophy, our culture, our Raise Leadership curriculum, our general curriculum, and how we'll meet the needs of all students, as well as our assessment plan. We look forward to engaging with not only with our students, but with the community and their families as well. We will encourage parents to be involved on campus through volunteer opportunities and opportunities to provide feedback. We'll hold open houses and curriculum nights and conferences and student-led conferences. We are very excited at the prospect of bringing ALA to Union County and providing students with the best educational experience in a moral and wholesome environment. We'll begin accepting applications for the 24-25 school year in November, on November 15th, and open enrollment will run through January 15th, and we expect the lottery to be held by the end of February. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I will turn the podium over now to Chris Elliott from Charter One. He will be providing operational support to ALA Monroe as they get to day one.
Thanks, Christina. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for your consideration that you've given to the ALA Monroe application. As a relatively new addition to the Charter One team here, I am convinced that Charter One can have a profound impact across the state of North Carolina. In the case of ALA Monroe, the demand and interest in our school and educational program is clear. We recognize that school size and facilities play a pivotal role in shaping the educational experience, and it's evident that many students and families are interested in a smaller, more intimate educational setting. ALA Monroe stands ready to provide a traditional elementary setting and a much more intimate middle school setting that would rank as the smallest in the district. This is intentional. We believe that we can build more powerful relationships with students and families by serving 375 to 400 students in the middle school, as opposed to their district option, which sees their middle schools average more than 1,100 students. This type of setting ALA Monroe could provide simply doesn't exist within Union County. Lastly, I'd like to share an element of Charter One's approach that I believe is distinctive in this work. Launching a charter school can be a daunting task for anyone, but Charter One is a true partner in this endeavor. As we work to establish schools with local boards across North Carolina, our fees are directly tied to the financial success and viability of each school. In other words, our fees are contingent upon the school's prosperity. And if our schools encounter unforeseen costs during their startup phases, we are committed to finding innovative solutions. Over the past 3 years, We have significantly deferred fees at Wake Prep, ALA Johnson, and ALA Coastal because we are steadfast in our commitment and sustained success of these communities for our students and families. Charter One is a dedicated partner, and I hope to be able to provide an excellent education to the students and families of ALA Monroe. Thank you for our time and consideration of the application.
Thank you again for your reconsideration of ALA Monroe, and we request your unanimous approval.
Ashley, how much time do we allot for questions?
You have about 30 minutes left.
Thank you for that, for the presentation. This is our time to ask any questions, clarifying questions when we have of the applicant. Go ahead.
All right, so in your process of being, obviously this board in the past, when it was Charter School Advisory Board, CSAB, you were approved here and went on to the state board, and the state board turned you down twice. In your opinion, if you want to share, why did they turn you down, and what makes your application different now than it was in the past?
Well, on my, well, if you're asking my opinion on the matter, trying to think tactfully here, right?
That's a question to answer. If you feel that you don't want to say it because political part.
Well, I will say, I do believe politics plays a role significantly in the school choice discussion nationally. I've been heavily involved in the charter school discussion across the states and understand politics do drive a big role. But then politics aside, philosophy behind certain types of education also is a big driving factor. Now, I will say, I know that it was brought up, my previous experience with Charter One. That's been brought up multiple times. And I do not work for Charter One. I haven't for 2 years. I work for a law firm, Denali Law. I do some legal work in Wyoming and Arizona for charter schools. And I've also been appointed to a charter school authorizing board, which is the equivalent here over there where there's less students over in Wyoming. But with that being said, I know that the term conflict of interest has come up. If there is a conflict of interest, I don't know what it is, because I receive no personal financial benefit to this. I am a volunteer on this board. And the reason I have volunteered to be on this board is specifically because of my experience with Charter One. I have seen how much they care about the kids. I've seen their ability to bring together a team to handle crisis intervention on numerous fronts in support of charter schools, and not only that, but for boards in general. And with that being the case, when I and the other board members got together, I'll take you back in time, right? Obviously, when I worked for Charter One, I had a hand in a lot of the documents that were drafted, right? I'm an attorney. And so with that being the case, I recused myself entirely at the time when it came to the relationship with Charter One, whether the board would engage in that relationship or approving any documents that were drafted by Charter One. So if that is on anyone's mind as to that being a concern in any way, shape, or form for this school moving forward, I believe the schools themselves are for the kids. I was a head basketball coach at the high school in my hometown as well last year. And the reason things always go wrong is adults get in the way of the kids' opportunities. And if that is going to happen here, I will gladly resign from the board because I have full confidence in the other members of the board to govern. I don't feel that that is necessary, but if the Charter School Review Board does feel that is necessary, I would gladly do so because I feel that the kids should be put first.
So I'd like to follow up with May and then hand it to Alex. Thank you for that question, because let's be very specific that and I think all of us here have taken the time, as we should do. We've listened to the deliberations that took place at the state board. We've read the minutes, went back and listened to the audio. I may be missing something, but I think the general concerns that were being raised were concerns like the one you just mentioned, were conflict of interest. There was concerns about not having specific school performance data in North Carolina, though you have it in other states as well. There were concerns about the EMO contract, and and then the fee thereof. So maybe we can address those, because those are, we are reconsidering the state board's vote. So those are the things that the state board brought forward, so maybe we can talk about those as well. But I'll hand it over to Mr. Quigley as well for a very specific question.
Cool. I obviously wasn't part of the board in the previous review, so forgive me if I ask some redundant questions. I am familiar with Charter One, but always want to just probe on a couple things. One is we talked about I'll just give a first financial, Mr. Elliott talked about the reduction in the management fee and for schools that, I guess from a budgetary perspective, it doesn't make operational sense for them to pay the whole management fee. So do we have a number on the percent? Because I think it's about 15%.
Yeah, the management fee itself is 15%. And I can't speak specifically to that. It's been 2 years since I've been part of Charter One, but it's a great,
I'm going to probably ask some questions that you're not going to know the answer to,
Right.
nor do I.
But I have some,
care
I have
if you know
general
the answer.
information, right?
Yeah,
But I know
so-
it was reduced according to the budgets of those schools to ensure that they stay in the green, right? The Charter One will defer those management fees until the school is able to
So are
do that
they
as well.
paid back within, obviously probably not interest, but so let's say if we do 10%, are we charging 20% the next year? What does that look like?
It's a great question. I'd like to know the answer to that too.
You should.
So yeah, I'll defer to Michael here a little bit, but my understanding is that as we all know, when you first launch in that first year, you get unexpected costs, whether it's personnel, exceptional service, or other things. And we are committed to that partnership, which means if we have to bring in that extra educational assistant or we need to make additional changes, that we will defer whatever that difference is down the road and come up with an innovative way for those schools to be able to absorb that. It's tied to specifically the enrollment plans within the school. So if you look at the enrollment plans going from 450 to 750 to 1100, we know that schools are going to be able to much more effectively manage that deferral process once they have 1100 students and they are able to manage that down the road. Ultimately, what's important is that they hit that budget year one, year two, and then get to that financial point of solvability down the road.
So is the ultimate, is it passed down the road where you all are going to recoup that money at some point, or is it just you just eat it?
Mind if I give my perspective on that? From my perspective, if Charter One is providing the full range of services and we contracted to pay a certain fee up to a certain range of services, for them not to be paid those over the course of time, I think would be dishonest on our part, because we agreed to pay them that percentage. And so in my good conscience, I wouldn't have the good conscience of saying, I'm not paying you for the fee that you rightfully deserve. So that's from my perspective as a board member.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can think about it a couple different ways. It's in Charter One's interest for the school to be successful and meet its budget. And there's other, I mean, it's just in startup is, I'd like to see a scaled management fee, because the reality is it's just, it's part of the additional growth as you scale when I open a school or open a new building and work with self-help, basically their lease was scaled based on the number of seats that we went every year. So 1,100, the school has reached scale where absorbing a 15% management fee is much more viable than with 400 kids. Obviously, it's less money, but to me, it's Charter One should be essentially making a startup grant, which they are. They're using their capital to access money that they wouldn't otherwise and pay salaries and things like that. I'd honestly like to get numbers on what is that. What is Charter One's basically sunk cost into the school? That would be a question for you as a board member to know.
Right,
from
and
the
I-
beginning versus, and then like, could we talk about like scaling the management fee over time? I think that would be one of the, you know, and again, I'll just get on my soapbox as a comment for all the listeners out there. But I think one of the problems is Charter One's has grown, and, you know, I think I've talked to a couple people today and at a conference I was at about wanting to, CMOs and EMOs wanting to come to North Carolina. Right now, we have an environment that only supports schools that have a lot of capital, or an EMO or a CMO-like movement, or Charter One. It is exceedingly, how many schools do we have in Delay right now that are independent?
Yeah, let's 6 or 7. We're gonna be going through those, yeah.
And that's with access money that, frankly, we're having a lot of issues getting paid to schools. So we are creating an environment where there's a narrow gate to get through, and the only people that have the capacity to get through it, none of our schools would be open. None of them. Just separate comment. But I guess the question is, like, it sounds like you're gonna pay that, so that's an answer eventually.
Yeah, over time.
You know, I guess that would be something that I would like to see, maybe, is like, let's anticipate that and know it's gonna happen.
So I guess a couple things that come to mind. I know that, well, the first thing is I know that you guys know as well as anybody, every school is equal, right? Everything is different costs associated, different sizes, different things go wrong along the way. There are development issues, there's permitting issues, there's so many expenses that all of a sudden show up, right? So I agree with you on the student count. However, I know I'm just talking my past experience. I've seen where student count's there, but the other external factors that came up made it to where a school couldn't pay the fee. So it had to be adjusted according to other factors as well. And in Charter One deferred their fee based on other factors because of the line items in the budget.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, I know that it's an internal policy at Charter One to where they're the first dollar in, startup capital, and then the last dollar out. Meaning, you know, making sure that their expenses can be paid before that fee is taken. So I do
I just think as a
like
board
that
member,
approach.
It would help you kind of like understand and manage the management company if you could like almost like predict or have like an honest conversation about what that could look like, because it's a reality. Okay, I have some other questions. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
I wasn't here
Ask
for
one
the
more, and then
application.
we'll
What's
give
that,
others the
John?
opportunity, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
come back.
I just wanted to know if you guys have had any changes in your board since the last time you were here.
No, our board is remained the same.
Can I keep
Yeah,
going?
go ahead.
Okay, and I know I wasn't here, but I think for me to vote on this, otherwise I have to abstain because I don't have enough information. I have read the app and I've read other Charter One apps. One thing we put up there was like the financial is one of the, and I asked this question before, in other apps. It's, the financial is in the kind of, which makes sense, the EMO's like responsibilities, but then there's 124,000 in the financial line. So where, to me, that's the CMO, because we have a $500,000 contract, which I assume is the management fee. So I have to, like, what is that?
Well, I don't have the budget in front of me.
Well, I'm telling
But,
you, it's
yeah.
500,000 for the management company and 124,000 for financial.
For financial, right?
And that's not a person, that's in the operational budget.
Okay. I know that when it comes to the budget itself, we as a board are trying to anticipate any expenses on the outset, because we know that what the management fee is with Charter One. I know there have been times where we want to bring in experts in a certain location, at least in the past. But now Charter One has become more, as we've discussed, Charter One has grown significantly since I was, last with them. So those budget numbers could be adjusted significantly if we go back to look at them.
And this might be a question, I'm cool with the management company answering this question, like, where is that money?
You happen to know?
Are we paying Acadia to do the finances locally? What is, to me, it's duplicative to have a $500,000 management fee and a financial.
There's a financial.
there's a $500,000 management fee and a $125,000 financial. Like, why both of those?
Don't have the budget in front of
I'm
me.
telling you, it's right here.
I can tell you the way it works. You know, you take the anticipated student population, take $10,000 per student, whatever that is, times 15%, and that's the number that'll be charged. I think the important thing on the budgets are, we'll continue to work with the board between now and school opening to make sure that it works.
No, I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm literally just asking, what does the line financial go to? Because to me, like, in the presentation, we said Charter One does the back office financials.
Okay, now.
Because like, it's $300,000 at year 5 with a $1.2 million management fee. And I totally get how the management, 10%, 15%, whatever. I just think it's like, what, so for example, you don't have a number, there's 0 for student accounting. I don't see anywhere in here for marketing. You guys do a great job for marketing. You have communications and telephone, because you gotta pay for telephones at the school level. That's not a management company cost. Well, actually, okay, here's my, no, there is 45,000 for marketing. So again, what we saw in the presentation was like, and I asked it, this is not a, you should, know that I'm gonna ask this question, because I asked the exact same question last time. We have marketing, those things to me are like management fees. So I'm trying to nail down like, what is the, and this is the same question I ask of every board. What are you getting for the management fee?
Okay.
I can
Go
answer
ahead.
to that part.
Yeah.
I know that, overall back office for the marketing, there's gotta be people developing the marketing materials. They've got, that takes a lot of man hours. And then there's the hard cost of the actual flyers, the actual ads themselves for that school, right? I know
So,
that
like,
the
print
actual
materials?
hard costs, right, the actual hard costs,
So that is not absorbed by the company.
right, hard costs would
Schools have
not
to
be,
pay that.
right.
So we have kind of like, we're paying 15% and we get like marketing expertise.
Right, to handle everything,
Like,
the
that
knowledge
pays for,
behind
like,
it.
The website and stuff like
Right,
that. Yeah.
developing the
And
website,
then it's like print materials, if you're gonna put a billboard, you're
Right.
gonna charge the school for that.
right, or, having to host a marketing event in the location where
Okay.
the board is putting that on, the Charter One will organize it, they'll prepare all the materials, get it all there, and then the hard costs will be passed along.
Okay. That's what I
As
was wondering.
far as financial, that's a really
I'm
good,
trying to
that's a
get
really
back-
good question,
Can we put
because I
up
know
the
it's a
slide
similar
with all the
situation.
things that the CMO, can we go back to that slide? That, of all the stuff the CMO does?
Yes, 1 second.
So, finance payroll, where is it? Can you go to finance? Payroll, there it is. Expense management, accounts payable, forecasting, booking. I don't know what else there is for the 124,000. That's what I'm getting at. Otherwise, to me, that just means the management fee just went up by $100,000.
Well, the biggest thing that comes to my mind, more than anything, is us having our own financial rep at the school to communicate with Charter One and to work with them.
Okay, so
To have that
that's a
expertise.
person?
I would assume. In my initial
'Cause the
impression,
person
that would
should
be
in
my
the
assumption.
personnel budget, and there's
Okay.
no finance officer in the personnel budget.
Well, and so with that being the case, I know that, like at partner schools, initially, if this is, because we were working with prior schools' budgets and trying to really come up with our own budget, right? No budget's perfect until we actually get through a full year and find out how wrong the budget
I think your
was.
budget should be perfect. Because
Okay.
you guys have like 5 schools, you have like almost 10,000 kids, you're gonna be the biggest CMO in North Carolina. And I'll be honest, like, you guys should know the answers to these questions.
Right, well, when it comes to the finance side, I know that there was a third-party contractor who came in to really to help on the school level when it came to finance, as far as taxes and
So
things
is that
come.
Acadia? Are we paying Acadia?
Well,
Does
I'm
anyone know
I'm just
that?
talking about years before, so I'm just saying where the line item came in the budget, as we're preparing the budget and we're looking, saying, hey, this was an expense prior, let's prepare for that. So we include it in our future budget. Now, that expense item may not even exist because now Charter One has the team on the ground to take, to
So
absorb
this
that.
budget isn't accurate?
That line item may not be. I don't know. I don't
You're
know
an
the answer to
authorizer,
that.
you know what I'm getting at, right?
Right,
It's like,
absolutely.
what is the, again, the question always should be for the board, what am I getting for the management fee? And to me, I just found $120,000 by spending 2 minutes looking at this that is not accounted for. Unless someone can answer what am I being crazy? Like, I feel like this is a reasonable question, right? Bruce?
It's your question.
I mean, hello?
Yeah.
Yes, it's reasonable, right? We have to pay Acadia, but I don't pay a management company.
So originally, I'm Tina Letchworth. So Alex, originally that budget was turned in with the original application. So he is not the authorizer. He is the ALA board chair.
Yeah, yeah.
So we, as the EMO, those are figures that are handled to participate and get ready for this application. Now, once part of the RTO ready to open process, we will be uploading the new financial information for the actual opening of the school.
Okay, cool. I just want to know what
Because
the money's
those
for.
numbers are from 2 years ago.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so that number is going, I mean, I just want to know like why you guys, again, and this is not, shouldn't be a surprise. Like I'm always going to ask this. I asked the same question as another EMO that came before us. Like, why do we had like the same thing, like duplicative fees, like a management fee and then additional like finance fees.
so going back to
That's
your
all I'm
marketing
wondering.
question a while ago, the marketing cost is for the hard.
That
for
makes
ins-
sense.
For
I
the
totally get
building,
that.
the
I'm good
marketing
with
of the
that.
building, the facade of the name and so forth. Those are things that are part of the
Yeah,
building.
no, I totally get that. That makes
Okay.
sense to me. I'm just zeroing in on this and I'm a little frustrated because I feel like you all should have an answer for it. Like, I'm just going to be honest.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
So, perhaps I misunderstood. The fee itself is, what is that based on?
So the 15% fee is the EMO's fee to provide those
Now,
services,
I didn't realize it's a fee. It's 15% of what?
the total revenue of the
Of the
school.
total revenue.
Total revenue of
So
the school.
regardless of what the expenses are, the fee is set at a
Correct.
certain that's what they're gonna
Correct.
get.
So going back to an original question from Mr. Gay about, what was the state board's concerns? One of those was about the fee. What is the school receiving for those? So that's why we added these 2 slides to go into detail. And as you can see, we are operating, the EMO is operating as like a central office, a central services like districts have. We as the EMO are providing all of those services that are well beyond that 15% fee.
So
And there's more on the upfront,
Okay.
and it does dwindle off.
I mean, that's an argument that can be.
And I'm certainly, in fact, Alex made a really good point earlier about the fact that the gate seems to be getting narrow. It looks like you've got to be a big organization in order to get a school through the process, or it's increasingly that way. So I'm very sympathetic to the fact that schools feel like they need somebody to, even get past this hurdle, not just to run the school. You can't even get a charter unless you can jump through a bunch of hoops. We had last year some schools come in where the board had opened very successful charter schools in the past. And same board, same vision, but no longer can get through the bureaucracy that, that I'm part of. I acknowledge I'm part of that bureaucracy. So I don't know what the reasonable amount is, but I certainly understand that a mom and pop, it's awfully difficult to pay nothing and get a school anymore. Maybe you could do that once upon a time, but I don't see how anybody is likely to be able to do that now. The board thinks this 15% is reasonable to get through the hoops of getting a school and actually operating one?
Yes.
And that's like market norm. Like most CMOs are going to charge between a 10 to 15%.
So it's a competitive.
Yeah, it's a competitive rate.
Okay, it's a competitive rate.
No,
Yes.
I mean,
And it is an allowable
based
rate.
on, what's the regulation? Where you said it's the most you can charge.
10
or
to
the most?
15% is.
Yeah, I mean, like KIP.
When you say
KIP is
that's-
going to charge like I think a 12%, 10 to 12% management fee. Like I don't have any
I thought
issue.
there was regulation that there was no more than 15.
I don't know if that's a law.
I do have a question, and this is maybe for the EMO. Is there a difference in this, you're already operating, you're serving as the EMO for 5 other schools in North Carolina. Is the contract that the board of ALA Monroe is entering into agreement with you different than those other 5, substantially different?
No. No.
And that contract's been approved
Yes,
by virtue of the school being approved
correct.
5 times?
Correct. And mentioned a while ago, school performance, one of the issues or concerns from the state board was, approving another school without school performance. So ALA Johnston and Wake Prep both opened in their first year and both received a C. And so that, you now have that school performance grade information.
I think like my piece is, I think there should be an answer to that question about what that money's for, and it's I'm gonna let it go at this point, but I don't have an issue with a management organization. I mean, school districts have central offices. Who knows what percent of their total revenue? We don't ever get that number.
That's
'cause
correct.
they don't
And in my
break out-
former role here at DPI as Assistant Director of Federal
Yeah.
Programs, that would be a very interesting thing for you
Yeah.
guys to
We'll
see
never-
that.
We'll never find out.
I
We'll never
worked
find
at a
out.
central office and I can
No.
help you find that
I
number.
mean, also, like, let's just be real, there, districts and all of us contract, there are people making money in education, I don't have an issue with that either, at the end of the day, like, it's not like people in Power School are not making money for these massive contracts that they have. So this idea that, like, you necessarily, no one can make, there are a lot of people making a lot of money in education, otherwise I wouldn't get about 13 emails a day from vendors trying to get us to pay them to do stuff. I think, for you guys, I just think you all have done this over and over again, like, I think you should know this budget inside and out. I would say my other question is, I only have 2 more. So what are your thoughts on the performance of the schools as collective? And I don't know, I saw a spreadsheet that somebody had with the performance of the other
Okay, so
schools.
ALA Johnston and Wake Prep both received C in their first year. The other charters that we operate and assist with and serve and support are acquired schools, acquired charters that we are now
Yeah.
supporting. So ALA
Yeah.
Coastal has now reached a C, it has improved. Our other ones that we acquired are their performance grades, we are just within a year of getting them.
So
And-
what used to be Aristotle is a D?
Aristotle A is ALA Charlotte, we've just acquired that, did the charter amendment last year, they have become ALA Charlotte this year, we've moved them to a new location.
Yeah.
So we are now, the EMO and working with that, and we're moving forward with them. Same with Bonnie Cone Classical.
Yeah.
So, and then we, are opening BCLA this year.
How many of them met growth?
How many met growth?
What's that? ALA Charlotte met growth last year.
None of the other ones did?
No.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
So
Right,
that
to be
is
real.
part of our EMO structuring and where Chris has come in, where he is supporting directly with our low-performing schools, and providing that support on the operations side of the company.
Well, if they're all not meeting growth, or all but one, I think that's.
Well, I'd also think, Alex, you have to think about our public school systems, our districts and our schools there. They're all coming out of the pandemic. We are all acquiring
I
them,
don't care
so.
about the public schools, like, we're supposed to do
I
it
understand
better.
that, but we are working toward to get that growth. And so coming out of the pandemic, last year was our first year of real growth and real data. So now we are taking that with Chris's support at each site and moving forward with that academic and curriculum
I
support.
mean, people keep talking about growth, and like, we should all be like exceeding growth, because the kids
So
lost all kinds of ground.
So that's my
like,
question.
they're
Is that-
behind.
That's my question.
We have
Is
to-
that formula, does it allow for every school to exceed growth?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
The
every
growth
school
is-
can exceed
The
growth.
growth is like,
Your
my
growth is
school
your
has
projection
exceeded.
based on what they decide
My
Versus
school,
what?
versus what they were projected based on all their previous, EOGs.
Yeah, it's
They had
all ba- it's a
projection
pr-
growth
they
in
give
that.
you
So
a-
it's only, and I, excuse my ignorance.
No.
I recognize this, I just don't.
And again, but General, I'm just gonna chime in, we've got 5 minutes,
Okay.
and we still have other board
I
members.
think this
I
is
can ask
really
that question
important.
at a
Like,
later
I think
date.
this is really important. The state board sent this out.
And we said we had questions, so I wanna make sure we
So
have
all of
questions
our,
get out.
all of our schools going forward should exceed growth.
I mean,
for us to
it's
renew.
not easy. Like, I mean, that's why we had, like, I don't know what percent of charters exceeded growth, but it's like, I mean, every kid has a predictive score, and if they hit that, that individual kid, it's based on thousands of tests over the years. If they hit the score, if they hit a year, basically the score, they've met a year. If you get more kids hitting the score, you exceed growth. There are schools that exceed growth every single year over. My school has exceeded growth for 5 straight years. It was a failing school before, but we were 61% last year, and we're now 64, and we exceeded growth. So it's highly doable. And I'm not even talking about exceeding. I'm talking about met. Met is a low bar, like low. Like, to be real, it's low.
I think Mr. Godby had a question.
So I think my question is, of what I see here is that there are 5 board members, 5 current board members.
Right.
And how many of those 5 are here today?
I was the only one who could make it today.
And one of those lives in Union County?
What's that?
One of those 5 lives in Union County?
I believe that's correct. Yeah. I don't know where I haven't been to everybody's home, so.
Well,
Right.
it's in the application.
Right.
It's a question that we ask for.
Right, but it's just been, really, it's been a long time since I've really gone through, and we wrote that application a long time ago, so.
I will tell you that we all reread this application
Right.
in preparation for this meeting, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Gubb, I do want to make a clarifying comment, though. For both of these reconsiderations, the applicant was told they did not have to have their full board here, just for what it's worth.
Mr. Friend, I do have, Mr. Quigley, the response to the question.
You can call it.
The response to your question on that fee for financial, we have a 15% total fee.
Okay.
On the management fee line item, we put 12%.
Okay.
On the financial
Okay.
fee, we put 3%.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And so.
That's the answer I was looking for.
And, I want to just emphasize again what was previously said. We're the first dollar in, the last dollar out. I can tell you that we made a commitment to this board, meaning the ALA North Carolina Board, that we're going to work to improve academic performance at all our schools. And as a management organization, we're not satisfied with the performance of the schools that we have. I'll take a C at 1,800 student starts every day. But in response to that, we have committed an additional $250,000 to $500,000 to support improving the academic performance in the schools. So we're committed to serving families and students and helping them be the best they can be. So we appreciate your reconsideration. Mitch, I'll turn it back over to you.
I know it's pretty easy to get, where we get in the weeds of education significantly, but I do appreciate it because as Mr. Quigley pointed out, it is something that I need to know personally, so just know I'm going to be writing down these very good questions that you have and take it back where I'm at. Now that being said, I know that Charter One has been put on the grindstone a lot with most of the boards that come before, or with the boards and the charter school reviews and the State Board of Education, they get put on the grindstone. But what I want to kind of bring back is I have absolute confidence in this board of directors. Had this school itself not had an EMO contract, would any of these same questions be asked?
Yes.
And what I mean is directly attacking previous EMO, the EMO's previous experiences. And I don't think those would ever be asked because they don't have that experience. It's the competency of the board. Can they manage this school? Will they hire a good director? And I can promise you that's what we're doing. And we chose Charter One Direct specifically first of all, obviously, I'm gonna have a little bias there, but I recuse myself on that. But the other board members felt the same. This is the organization we want, because it's going to bring the culture we want. It's going to bring all the aspects we want. And like you mentioned before, it is very difficult to get any school to succeed in this environment. And we feel that with Charter One's help, we can get there. Thank you for your reconsideration. We ask for your unanimous approval. Thank you.
Here, I would just say, like, obviously, I've been hard on these guys before, this group. I think that, like, I think it's justified. Like, this is, at 10,000, how many students do you have under management now in North Carolina? 10,000. That would make them, where would that put them as far as school districts? Middle? So I think it's, I guess my argument for the scrutiny is scale. And if you are asking for a lot, so I think you need to be under a microscope by, as you know, I go hard at pretty much every school we see. But I think as you're getting movement, how many applications do they have? 3. Yeah, like the person that I've known the person that runs movement for years, but like we need to go hard at them, given what they're asking for. So I think when we're talking about these EMOs and the scale, they deserve, you're asking for a lot, so you need to get a lot of scrutiny. And we can look at their other schools in a way that we can't look at. I just think that's part of the deal, right? The other questions that I didn't get to ask that would have been relevant had I been here before that I would have asked was just like, how is the model different than a traditional school? And then following up on Greg's point, like what are the very specific things that you're doing to move kids? So at least you need growth. Because I would argue you have I think given the free lunch ratios and student makeup, with the exception of the low performing schools they took over, which is great. And I think smart, because there are low performing schools that they'd be better off with a management company. I think my school was almost given to a CMO in the process. Like we looked, the board was looking at that. So I don't have a problem with that, but I think, the other schools, given the makeup, I would argue like you have kids like mostly coming in on grade level. If I had to guess and unpack the data, which is the reason we're not like meeting growth. Kids that come in low are actually easier to meet growth. So, and if you're getting kids on grade level and they're just advancing a year or less than a year, it's kind of like.
I have a question.
Sure.
All right, so chicken or the egg question. All right, you said you chose Charter One. So did your board come together and pick, I'm gonna go to Monroe, I'm gonna pick Monroe out, and then I'm gonna go find out Charter One, or did Charter One say, I wanna go in Monroe and find the board? So chicken or egg?
I can tell you, obviously, I had a relationship with Charter One prior, right? And so, yeah, Charter One reached to me and said, hey, in this area, there's an opportunity. Are you interested? I said, absolutely. I would absolutely be interested in that. And so from there on, it was me working in tandem from there forward. And then as that went forward and I had a board together, said, look, this is the opportunity in front of us. However, here are other AMO options. How do you feel? And I recused myself from the board. I know that's been the standard approach, because we know we will get grilled coming up here. So we better vet all EMOs in the approach, and then the board needs to decide. So I know the time's up, but sorry.
Just real quick, what did you say did we talk about the overcrowd? I may have missed that. Is there overcrowding in Union County?
Yes.
Because I know that's a hugely growing community.
Yeah.
And then
18% of the elementary and middle schools are over capacity right now, and 42% are above 90% of their capacity overall right now.
And then how many kids on wait lists at Union, what is it? Union Academy?
Yeah. No, right now, Union County has 18% of their elementary and middle schools are over capacity, some by 200 to 300 students. When you look at the larger scale, it's 42% of their 40 elementary and middle schools are at 90% or more. Coupled with, if you look at the census data from the last 10 years, the population has grown from 202,000 to almost 250,000. Union County is going to have some significant facilities challenges when you look at those schools. The other thing is their middle school options average 1,100 kids. Some of them are 1,500 kid middle schools, and parents don't have an option for a smaller school like ALA Monroe could provide.
Can I ask another question? I'm sorry. Dr. Ledford, what do you do for Charter One?
So I appreciate the doctorate, but I'm maybe inexperienced, but I have not earned that honor. So I'm just Tina Letchworth.
Yeah.
So,
Honorary doctorate.
so I retired from DPI as Assistant Director of Federal Programs in March and joined Charter One after researching the EMO greatly. I'm sure all of you know that I probably did that if you know me well. And I joined them as their compliance director for the Southeast, Southern, for the U.S., and handle all of the compliance with Epicenter and other platforms within other states. But I'm also working with them on their strategic planning and development now.
Believe it or not, I'm going to vote for this in favor of it, and a couple reasons. I do think the overcrowding is real. We've heard a lot about that in Union County, even in past times. I think that, and I think that, you know, I believe in school choice, and I think providing an option to alleviate some of that, and just they are investing in a facility. Remember, that's a facility that doesn't come through the local taxpayers. So there's like an element here, right? Because local taxpayers have to pay for new facilities in districts because they just float a bond, $1 billion bond, okay, that'll pay for all the schools and it all comes out of our pocket. These guys are investing in it. I will just say that also they choose good leaders, at least in my experience. So I have a group of these folks in my cohort and they're just awesome. Bridget Jones, and then the other leader there's two of the others, I can't remember their names, from I think it's Bonnie Cohn. They're just like, they're super invested, super smart, super hardworking, just love having them in the cohort. My thing is like, I don't think I'm gonna support, given the scale, like until the data gets better, I feel like until we're meeting growth, like, and I've heard like, hey, that's your priority, and we have like some real strategies, it's gonna be really hard for me to support more applications, because I just feel like that's gotta be your value statement. Like, we're gonna not only provide a facility, not only provide strong moral compass, character, values, but like we're also gonna get it done in the classroom for all kids. And I've also like dived really deep into Charter One, like, because I had to present them like you to the state board, and they came and met with me, and I spent like 2.5 hours with them grilling them about stuff. So I respect their willingness to do that, and I think they take the feedback, but I also think like you're asking for a lot, so you get, I am gonna support it though, but I think this will, be the last one until I see like more data. And I always ask you, no one gives me a straight answer on what is your growth plan? Like, how many schools do you want to run in 5 years? I think you're opening some maybe in South Carolina. I know business people like yourselves have like growth. I have one. I know you have one somewhere, and one day I want you to tell me that our target is like 25,000 kids in North Carolina. Maybe, I don't know how many it is, but I am gonna vote for it.
Well,
Those are my reasons. So
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve the reconsideration of ALA to go forward and to RTO.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Do we get a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any other comments, discussion?
I will make one comment that, like Alex pointed out, one school out of 5 not meeting growth is troubling. I hope that as schools come back for renewal, that won't be the case, because I think that will garner further scrutiny of the renewal process. So just, keep that in mind as you guys are moving forward.
Even if the report card changes, the growth, I don't think is gonna change, even though the EOG is becoming adaptive next year, but in some grades.
My only comment is that I appreciate this board continuing to come back between votes of confidence and votes of non-confidence. And I appreciate you addressing the concerns that were raised out of the last state board meeting. For those listening, this board took those concerns and that consideration to heart. We listened, we followed up. There can be disagreement on whether it's comfort levels with growth and performance and the EMO contract, but for all those who are listening, this reconsideration of what the state board decided wasn't simply we voted yes before, so we're going to vote yes now. And I commend everyone, even those who weren't with us the last time, for doing the homework. And any other discussion?
I would just say that obviously we want these schools to perform as best they can, and for entities that have aspirations to grow, the best strategy is be really good at what you do now. An organization getting very large, if they're doing it because they're doing well, then I think most of us are comfortable with that. Being large means you get more scrutiny, but it also means you can have greater confidence that the organization is going to do what it's done in the past. When you have a very small organization and it wants to grow, it's hard to know what's really going to happen. I'm going to vote for this, and I certainly hope that our aspirations for you are fully realized within the next year or two.
And I would just, final comment, like, they win on operation stuff, like, they're really good at it. Like, you go on their websites, the systems they have, I think they've built like a whole uniform system. I mean, it's like pretty incredible, and like, I've wanted to learn a lot and steal their marketing ideas, and like, they're doing stuff really right on the operational side. I would argue in some ways that's easier, right? It's like, that's more of the business side of the work. We all know that. Getting a third grader to pass the EOG who doesn't speak English, that's really, really, really hard. And then doing it at scale is exceedingly difficult. So like, getting those academics right, that's part of the hard part. It's obvious that you all can deliver on the operations. Like, I mean, yeah, you tried to traffic on Wake Forest Highway or whatever it was, like, for multiple miles and ended up on WRAL, but no school has ever started with 2,000 kids. Like, that was like one of the most ambitious things ever done for charter schools in North Carolina, and you pulled it off, and you didn't lead half your kids from the beginning. So I commend you for that. We just want to see the results. I know that's super important to me, and partially because I know it's doable.
Okay, any other comments before we do vote? All right, hearing none, Ashley, can you do roll call vote, please?
Yes. Bruce Friend.
Aye.
Stephen Gay.
Aye.
Hilda Parlay.
She's recused.
Oh, sorry. Alex Quigley.
Aye.
Todd Godby.
Nay.
Shelley Shope.
Aye.
Bart Danielson.
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. So you guys, you're opening in 2024, which means you're going right into RTO. So, and many of you are very familiar with that process. So Natasha will be getting in touch with you so that you can get right into that cycle, because we have our second planning session, yes, next week. So you're gonna be jumping right in. All right,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Ashley, have we heard from
Yes.
Saba?
And we had told them 12:45, so do we maybe wanna do like a quick lunch, be back by 1?
Why don't we do let's do 30-minute lunch, come back at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Sorry.
We will resume at 1. I thought I was done.